Are you ready to record? You're ready to do this?
Yes. So you want to start? Hey, welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Oh, not much, Tyler. Just enjoying this weekend.
Do anything fun?
No, I was finishing up my wife's library because she didn't want an office anymore. She wanted a library. And then I had to do construction, tear out shelves, and then make trips to IKEA and build Billy bookcases and then do all this other crap. And it's been a nightmare. And then replace hue lights and all this other garbage. It's been great. It's been fantastic, really, actually the best.
That does sound like a construction project, but I'm intrigued on the fact that you are building a room called the library in your house. And There's a little bit of pot calling kettle black here because I have a pinball room and a game room. I clearly have complete excess rooms in my house, but this is going to be a room just dedicated to books and maybe a chair and a table for tea.
Man, you really fucking nailed it.
All right.
That is 100% what it is. There's also a TV in there, but there is a wingback chair and an ottoman, a little accent table to hold a book and a cup of tea that looks at the TV, which swivels, and then just wall-to-wall shelving around her. That's my wife's office. And, colorful lighting, because why not?
Sure. That sounds pretty great.
Yeah, she used to have a desk in there, but she was like, I never work on there. All I want to do is when I work, use my iPad, which has a folio, so I can just put that in my lap or bring in a tray table if I need it. She's like, my desk just collects junk. I just want a library. So that's what we did.
All right. That sounds like so much fun, Johnny.
It's nice. I'm low key. It's pretty nice in there. The chair, which I'm not usually a wingback guy, but this thing was pretty comfortable. I was sitting in there, and she's got I got her these two HomePods that I had, full size ones, and they do 3D sound, so it'll tell you where it acts like a home theater system by just having the two HomePods, and it has directional capabilities. It's pretty wild. So you just sit in there. It sounds really good because the room is kind of put off to the side and it's cold, and because of all the books, it's now a pretty well soundproofed room, and she's got a big rug now, so it's not because normally our house is just wooden floors or tile, so sound bounces really bad.
Sure.
In there, sound is really good now, and it's the darkest room in the house, so it's dark and cool, has a TV, cool lighting, good sound. I'm a little jealous. It's better than what I've got going on, I think, except I got all the cool games.
I'm in. Is the wingback chair for the ambiance? It's this is a classy chair for a classy room full of books,
it is.
Full of knowledge, Yeah. If I'm reading a book, if I'm not doing it in bed, I usually go up to the game room because that's the one place in the house I have a recliner. And I would say it's the opposite of a relaxing library because my game room is a huge fucking mess. So I don't think it's super relaxing to be around stacks of games while I'm reading books. But library sounds nice. Wish I had a room in the house I could dedicate to it, but every square inch of this house that is not for something that makes living important is probably a shelf of games here.
You know what's nice is she got rid of all of her knickknacks and too, so there's not tchotchkes all around. So it's literally just books. It's all clean.
Ooh, Carly is anti-tchotchke.
She got she used to have pops and
does that make all three of us anti-tchotchke?
Took them down. Yeah, she's got her one Lego castle, and that's it though. So, and that's on a shelf framed up away, so it's not out. Nothing is protruding into the room. I'll send you some pictures. It's nice.
All right. I just bought some pins. They're some Super Smash Brothers pins from an event, and I just I feel bad about it because I don't buying.
Hold on, what you did? Why?
I know I don't like this shit, but I saw them and they were a pretty fair price for what they are, and I'm just yeah, what? Maybe I could put these pins somewhere, and now I'm just gonna have these pins, and they're either gonna be awkwardly sitting on a shelf in front of something that I actually care about. Or worst case scenario, I'm going to throw them into a bin and they're fucking pins and I'm going to rediscover them in 25 years and be
that's exactly what's happening.
I know.
Man, I have some pins. I know your pin because I have some. And there's just I have a box of random stuff and I don't know what it was. I think it was a GameStop giveaway, but I've got Rue, the headband, a Street Fighter headband from Street Fighter 4. And then some other random pins and the Nintendo magnets and stuff. Just a box of Like, WTF, what is this stuff? Why do I own it?
It's part of why I hate collector's editions that put in this kind of crap as a bonus, because, you know, I could see the appeal maybe if I'm like a high school kid and I could put a video game pin on my backpack as if that makes me cool. I guess that's a use for it, but otherwise it's just like, what am I going to do with a pin? And here I am, and I went and I bought 4 pins.
I cannot believe that is the wildest thing I've heard this week.
Outside of what I'm normally buying. However I found it, it must have been a save search, and this was like something that hit the save search, but clearly wasn't what I was looking for. And I'm like, those are kind of cool and pretty cheap, and my goals go out the window when I see something cheap and interesting.
I can't even. I'm literally dumbfounded.
I know. I'm like
pins.
the last person who does this stuff. I don't even buy hardware.
Confused.
I don't like accessories. I don't like consoles.
I mean, I'm pretty minimalistic when it comes to the extra stuff, and you're more minimalistic than I am. So I just I can't understand. Anyways, we've gone on too long about these pins, but holy shit, weird.
Let's talk about something that is very normal for me, and I do love collecting, Johnny.
Oh, yeah?
The Sega CD. I'm going to call it my second favorite console to collect.
It's a good one.
I'm going to preface this and say, like, 50% of it is because I think the blue cases just look so good.
They do look so good. But you know the problem with the Sega CD system, like, collecting it, is the inconsistency in the set. But we'll get into that. Like, just the blue cases, like, they look so good. They look better than the white Saturn ones when they're all lined up. But then you get the stupid cardboard boxes and the 32X ones. Anyways, what we're doing today for all of you, we actually ran a vote on our Patreon, and, you know, we gave some consoles that we were going to do So You Want to Collect for, and this is the So You Want to Collect for the Sega CD. And I really thought GameCube was going to win. Like, people have been hot and bothered about GameCube. It's been a front runner. Nobody is talking about Sega CD. Lo and behold, Sega CD won. I was astonished. Were you astonished?
I'm almost, maybe don't mention this because I'm almost sure that most people listening to this would prefer an episode on GameCube.
I mean, we're going to get to that one too. It's on the list of things to do. I was just like, all right, you know, I want to like be more interactive with our patrons and like make them have a say. And then they picked Sega CD.
Cool.
Wow. I mean, I love Sega CD, but I didn't expect it to be picked. I'm happy it was. I'm excited to do this episode.
All right. Do we want to get into what the Sega CD is, Johnny?
Yeah. Why don't you tell me what the Sega CD is? It's just a Genesis add-on, right?
What are you coming at me with this accusation? I feel like you're accusing me already that the Sega CD doesn't count as a real console because it's just an add-on.
I just like to put that out as food for thought. I think it's its own thing, but I think if you were looking at something holistically, you could include it with Genesis stuff.
Okay, it has been a while since I read the book. Console Wars is the one about was it Tom Kalinske? What's the Kalinske guys? Yeah. So that goes over like specific motivations behind things like the Sega CD and 32X. I feel like the Sega CD was a relatively well-intentioned product that not only extended the lifespan of the Genesis, but brought it into the dumb fad multimedia age. And regardless of the software it got, I think it was a smart idea. I think it's a cool thing. It only sold like 2 million units. So in the world of video game hardware, it was not a successful and popular thing. But it's a cool Sega Genesis add-on. And there are some people I feel like who might lump it in with the 32X as a pointless thing that didn't need to exist. I think the 32X is very clearly a pointless piece of garbage that did not need to exist and should have just been the Sega Saturn, essentially. But I'm pro Sega CD. Cool add-on that lets the Genesis play CD games.
So, my only problem with Sega CD is that we all know, like, if you know the history, it helped. Sega also screwed Sony, as did Nintendo, which led to the rise of the PlayStation. So you can either be thankful for that or not, but they went with like a worse maker and kind of a worse model, but they really wanted to capitalize on that FMV. I'm happy the Sega CD exists. I remember when I was a kid, my friend had it and I was so excited to play Star Wars, like just Rebel Assault on that. I was so like, I was ready for it. And he had the 32X. He just had the whole jumble. And I was just like, this is amazing. And then we had to figure out how to hook it up, and what a pain in the ass that was to get it all running together, because you need so many wires and so many plugs. But Sega CD is a neat system. If you haven't looked at the logo, I'm just throwing this out there. The Sega CD logo is really cool. It's like, it says Sega in a black box or a rectangle, and Sega is in gray, but then the CD is in like a silver panel, and the C and the D make what looks like a CD disc. So if you look at that, the right angle, it looks like a disc. I just think as far as logo design, it was really cool.
Super good. Way better than the Mega CD logo.
Yes. So, well, let's, shall we get into like when it came out and stuff?
Sure. I just want to also say, unsurprisingly, like most dumb gimmicks, we're going to call Sega CD a dumb gimmick for the sake of argument here. The games that utilize the Sega CD stuff the best are the ones that barely utilized any of its functionality at all. So when I think of a good Sega CD game and I think of Sonic CD or Lunar or Popful Mail, it's generally just a good Sega Genesis game with CD audio. And everything that tried to do more than that was probably a stupid, dumb gimmick. Similar to how the games that were best on the Wii are the ones that barely use the Wiimote pointer functionality.
I can get behind that. There was some Genesis games that were released on the system that they added some sound improvements to, which was kind of nice, but wasn't entirely necessary. That was more, I think, of, hey, let's capitalize on something that's easy to make real quick.
I mean, it could be that, but also, when you say that, the one that comes to mind immediately is NHL 94, since I think the consensus is the Sega CD version is the best version. Maybe there's some weird SNES diehards for some reason. But like, if you were going to buy that and you had a Sega CD, why would you buy the Genesis version when you could buy the Sega CD version? Plus, it makes you feel good. Like, it feels like your Sega CD is doing something, even if it's barely doing anything.
Well, I mean, if I had both systems and the game came out, I would definitely pick the Sega CD version. Like, if I was a kid in that time era. Like, if you're like, hey, let's get Radical Rex, you can get it on the Genesis or the Sega CD. I'm picking the Sega CD. Or Pitfall, I'm definitely getting the CD version because that's going to be cooler. Also, CDs were new and cool at the time. Like, man, a CD, what is this thing? It's so small and flat, and it holds all this information more than a Genesis cartridge. How does it do that? I mean, especially if you didn't really have computers, and computers weren't in every home back then. So it's 1992 and you've got a Sega CD. Man, that just feels like the future.
I miss the multimedia era a whole lot. I would say my favorite era of computers is getting a disc, like, I don't know, like Microsoft Encarta. And it's just like, it's not a program designed to give you information in the most efficient way, like Wikipedia is. It's like an adventure of going through pictures and videos of information. It's just like this whole unique thing. It's a way of designing software that I feel like doesn't exist anymore, because people would be like, this UI is insanity. Why would anyone want a UI like this? But because it was like that design insanity only existed for like 10 years, maybe. I miss it.
I understand that.
All right, Johnny. Do we want to get into how many games are on the Sega CD?
Well, no, we got to talk about when it came out and stuff.
When did it come out, Johnny? I'm going to say 1991. Nope, 92. I'm wrong. In Japan,
92. 91 in Japan, but like it came out in December as the Mega CD in 1991, October 15th, 1992 for North America, and not all the way until April of 93 for Europe. So sorry, pal people.
I mean, I feel like we were on a delay from Japan the same way Europe is on a delay from North American releases, so they were probably behind on everything else, and they were just kind of used to it.
Probably. I mean, I'm glad those delays are becoming shorter and like less relevant, but man,
is Europe still delayed on stuff?
Sometimes.
Weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. But now, like, sometimes Europe gets stuff before us, and that's cool too. I'm for that.
You're for that? You're pro Europe?
Yeah. I mean, like they got the short end for so long when it came to video games. If they get something first, or like when they had their like few exclusives that later came to us, I mean, it's like, yeah, we could wait. Europe had to wait for everything. So Might as well. But Japan can definitely wait. They got everything first.
Yeah. I mean, Europe does have a rich history of microcomputer games that we are completely in the dark about that they can lord over us.
Yes. There's a bunch of weird, like, man, the microcomputer games are so wild, and they cost nothing. They cost nothing.
Nothing. You could spend your whole life just buying dollar cassettes, Johnny. Let's
amazing.
It. Let's quit this console nonsense and just go buy shitty computer games that are just like absolute garbage budget trash.
You want to spend $1,000 for one game, or do you want to spend $1,000 on 300 games? What do you want to do here?
That's not even an exaggeration. We could right now
that's actual
find 300 games we could buy for $1,000.
Yeah, and we can use a freight forwarder, and they're not even very heavy, so they'll ship for like $50.
Wow, cassettes are heavy. I'm going to disagree on that one. If you buy like a couple, yes, but when I was buying in bulk, it's like, oh fuck, that's a pretty heavy package.
Did it get heavy? Like, I mean, I've been shipping books for my wife from Europe and like all over. So tapes seem like, who cares?
I don't know. They, I mean, come on. If you think of holding 100 PlayStation games in jewel cases, you'd be like, oh fuck, these are heavy because they're jewel cases.
I mean, but these are just like little tapes. They're all air. I'm just like, literally, I just had to ship 100 pounds worth of books.
I mean, you're talking about like a much denser thing. Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't that many books. The box wasn't that big. Anyways.
I guess we should also mention Sega CD was $299, Johnny.
That was a lot of money back then.
What did a Sega Genesis cost in 1992?
I don't know. Let's see.
It seems like we should have came in here with that. I bet we could find it in a Sears catalog.
So I'm going to look at the inflation calculator real quick. $299 in today's money is $600. So this thing was more than a PS5, and it was an add-on. So you also needed a Genesis.
All right, IGN says the Genesis original price was $189, meaning the Sega CD was almost twice as expensive as the Genesis. I'm going to guess that IGN was wrong.
Maybe.
Here's an unsourced claim that it was $200, which makes more sense to me than $189, but
I'm seeing $163 and stuff.
This is why we do the research beforehand, I think.
Probably. Anyways, so it was around between $150 and $200 for a Genesis. And I think that's roughly right, because I think the Super Nintendo was like $150 to $200, depending on the version you got. And then later had like 99 versions.
I guess to live in the future, you got to spend a shitload of money. And I mean, that makes sense because not a lot of people had it. The only person I knew with the Sega CD was definitely one of the rich kids.
Yeah, I mean, imagine what the whole setup cost. Like if you had the Genesis and the 32X and the Sega CD, that's a system in today's money that was over $1,000.
Yeah, it makes the 3DO seem almost reasonable when you put it all together.
Is that Neo Geo money back then?
I mean, I think the problem is Neo Geo games were also expensive as fuck, so it wasn't just the console investment.
That's true.
Also, update, 1990 Sears Christmas Wish Book, Sega Genesis Model 1 was only $189, so that seems accurate, I guess.
Sure. All right, we're close. Anyways, so it was an expensive system. CDs were new. Scratching was a horrible thing back then. The lasers in the Sega CD did not stand up to the test of time. So if you had like a dirty disc or a scratch disc, it was much worse than in today's day and age when you got a little nick or something. So something to keep in mind.
You know what? So this could just be because people sure didn't play their Sega CDs as much as like a PlayStation. But I mean, in PS2, it's basically a meme on when is your disc drive going to die. But it's probably because people just played the shit out of PlayStation 2 because it's like maybe the best console ever made.
Yeah, yes. I mean, but I've had two PS2s fail, and I played them a lot, but not a ton. But how much did anyone play the Sega CD? But the Sega CDs, especially the Model 1, was prone to failure. Like the track on the disk drive broke a lot, the laser broke a lot. The first model, the Model 1 for the Sega CD, was not good. Now, if you're unsure which one that is, that's the one that the Genesis Model 1 sat on top of, or the Model 2, instead of being a side-by-side unit, which is the more common. Those ones are basic. If you get those, they're almost all going to need some sort of repair, and if they don't now, they will shortly. They're not a great system.
It's got a belt-driven, it's a tray-loading CD rather than just a simple pop-up. It has an unnecessary amount of moving parts. I don't know if that's just a design problem that it had, or they intentionally wanted to make it look like a big, fancy, chunky piece of hi-fi equipment, which is exactly what the Model 1 Sega CD looks like, which I think is why most people probably want a Model 1 Sega CD, because it looks way cooler.
It does look way cooler. The other one, you're just like, meh, who cares? And it sits side by side, and it's a little lame looking. But the one that bolts on top, yeah, way cooler looking. Not as cool as the XI, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get into our list and go down, because we do have a format for this show, and we talk about some things like the price and like when it came out and the history, but let's talk about how many games there are before we get into the hardware variants.
I didn't have it written down, Johnny. I thought I heard you say 147 to 148-ish, so not a lot of
it's
games.
Like that. That, depending on how you count, could be like as low as 140 or 138. Like if you don't count the animals and you don't count Making the Music and Modern Rock and Compton's. Sega CD is one where the does it count and do you count it is people's numbers are going to change. But is it a thing you could get and put in the disk drive for the Sega CD? Around 148, 147. That's a safe range. But if your number is lower than that, just think about what you count. So yeah, that's it. And did we ever look up the price of the full collection? Because all those good price sites are
I'm sure
super useful
we can get a really good idea.
Let's get a really good estimate from our buddies at, like, I don't know, price charting. I'm sure they know something about it, right?
I don't see it. Do you ever go to price charting and like sometimes you see that box and graph that's like, here's how much the entire set costs, and sometimes you don't see it?
Yes.
What is up with that?
I thought Game Value Now did a better job of like kind of showing that.
Yeah, Game Value Now does a great job with a lot of things. Complete set, Game Value Now says is $15,000 for whatever that's worth.
I would not trust that.
I don't look eyeballing their prices. They seem fine. I'd maybe call a couple of them a touch low, but sure, $15,000 is probably ballpark around there. That seems like a hell of a lot of money for every game for a console kind of no one cares about, but a lot of that is one game. It's KO Flying Squadron.
So, and just looking at price charting right now, looking at the overall prices for games, pretty close, like a little low, but pretty close to what I was seeing in eBay sold. So if you needed like a rough estimate on the cost of a game, what it was going to cost you to get it on Sega CD, I wouldn't say definitely don't look at price charting. I would say look there first because it's easiest, and then kind of analyze what the most current sales are, but pretty close from what I'm seeing here. But don't look at the list where it says there's 168 Sega CD games, because that is just not true.
It says 146 on Game Value Now.
Yeah, so I'm glad our counts are all correct.
So it is, this is an off-the-cuff observation, but Sega CD prices, they were pretty flat before COVID, and then I'm going to call the bump, while still like a tremendous bump of like almost 50% increase in value, like compared to NES or SNES, which more than doubled, I think, especially for complete in box for those. Pretty modest COVID bump to only go up in price 50%.
Yeah. I mean,
and then now it's still like kind of flat.
I mean, it's
pretty cool to see something that's not like, oh my God, everything is on fire.
So if we're looking at COVID was what, April of February, March 2020?
You know what? I'm going through and I'm looking at some of these graphs, and maybe the COVID bump wasn't as bad as I'm thinking. It looks actually pretty comparable to maybe it's a little bit less bad than something like NES or Super Nintendo. It
went from 30 to like 50, like $30 to $50. So I mean, it's a pretty big increase, but
anyway,
but I don't
everything's
know what the demand
now.
is.
What are you gonna do? $30 to $50? What are you talking about, by the way?
On the average price of a game.
Okay.
from
Well,
April.
I can't stand this data. My graphs are showing it went from about 60 to about 100 for the average game.
Man, are you looking at
I'm
game
on
value now? And I'm looking at price charting. So cool. Super. And this is why we bitch about these sites.
Why do we even look at these websites? Someone make a new website. I can't handle it. We're not fixing these websites anymore. We need a new paradigm.
I agree with you, but I was saying the price charting prices for the games look comparable, so I was feeling like maybe this was okay. But game value now, like, I can't even look at that site. It just brings up bad feelings. Anyways, that's not about what this episode's about. Let's focus up. Okay.
All right.
So maybe $15,000. And hey, Tyler, how much for a loose set? Because I'm assuming that means complete in case.
Everyone knows we're gonna say don't collect loose Sega CD
Do they know
games.
that? Yeah, please don't.
Be crazy.
Don't be the guy who's like, I printed my own DVD case. Like, I guess Cool, but like, just don't do that. Like, who cares?
Save Point Video Games is unfortunately out of business. That was one of my local game stores, and they had their section of Sega CD games, and there was like the real Sega CD games, and then they had the ones with like DVD cases that were next to them. And I went to Save Point for a few years, and no one ever bought those DVD case games because what the hell, guys?
Yeah, I mean, if you're spending the money, you might as well just go all the way.
Sure,
just don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, now we're supposed to talk about hardware variants. Let's talk about how many hardware variants there were for this thing, because for a system that did not last very long, it kind of had a lot of hardware, yeah?
All right, I might be disputing you again here. I mean, not again, but so you say it didn't last very long. It was in 1992, and there were games released through 1995. Like, I don't think that's too bad of a run for like an unpopular add-on. And there was even one game released in 1996, meaning that like a good 4 to 5 years for the Japanese one, because the 1996 game was Shadowrun in Japan.
So
anyway,
think about it. Came out
not
in
a terrible run. I'm just saying.
October of 92, which is almost 93, and you're like 95. It's like 2 years, dude.
I mean, 2 years is pretty failed constantly, but you know what?
It's like
3 years.
Okay.
There's 1995 games.
Okay. Yes, sure. 3 years. 3 years. Well, I'll give it to you.
4 to 5, 4 in Japan.
3 years.
4 and change.
Not
the worst.
How long was the Genesis around? How long was the PS1 around? Like, think of what the contemporaries.
Oh, come on! You're gonna compare it to like some of the greatest consoles.
It was in the middle of those. These are their contemporaries.
Gizmondo got like 17 games or something. That's a failed console.
No, 147 games isn't a fail, but at the time when you've got your Super Nintendos and your Genesis pumping out something close to 700, and you've got the PS1, which comes out at plus 1,000 afterwards, the Sega CD and the Saturn and all that, they just kind of fall flat and don't make it. Like, even N64 gets 400 plus games, like moving towards 500, and that's 147. It's contemporaries, just kind of leave it looking a little flat.
All right. You are right about that. Anyway, we got the Model 1 Sega CD. Came out in 1992.
There's more models of Sega CDs than there are years it existed.
That's true. So the Model 1 came packed in with a 3-pack of games. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Volume 1, Soul Feast, and Sega Classics Arcade Collection, which itself is a collection of Sega Genesis games that have been updated with CD audio. Literally the only game I could think of off the top of my head is Streets of Rage, because that's the only one I think I've actually played on it.
I'm just going to say, like, as far as a pack-in, this is a really sweet lineup of games.
Oh, super good. Like, when you think Sega CD, you're like, oh, you got Sewer Shark as a pack-in. But Model 1 pack-in, like, really varied and pretty good. Especially because those updated Genesis games with CD audio, in my opinion, that's basically the best thing the Sega CD can do. Plus, Soul Feast is Soul Feast technically a Genesis game, also updated with CD audio. Like, also cool.
Yeah.
And then you get Sherlock Holmes, which, like, whatever, but that's a game with voiceover audio. So again, a unique game that you probably wouldn't see on normal gen. Yeah, fucking killer pack-ins, I think.
Yeah. The classics, what else? Like Shinobi was in the pack-in, right? What was like another?
Maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, Revenge of Shinobi, Columns, Golden Axe, and Super Monaco. Yeah, that was the 5.
All right. Yeah. I mean, maybe it depends how much multimedia fun I was looking for, but I wouldn't feel cheated if I bought it. I mean, it was also $300, so that's basically the price of 6 games. But
I mean, and then the later pack-ins had like Echo in there, and then Sonic CD.
Ooh, yes, those were also pack-ins later on. Good to mention under the variants section, Johnny, because I don't know that off the top of my head. Well, after the Model 1, which is the hi-fi one, super cool. We got the Model 2 Sega CD, which is the little tuner you attach to the side, a little bit more styled towards the Model 2 Sega Genesises. That's the one that came with Sewer Shark, which is not as good of a game as those first few games.
Nope.
There was a sports system that came with Joe Montana Football, and there was an action system that came with Tomcat Alley.
Pretty cool.
Tomcat Alley, another FMV game.
I mean, that's what the Sega CD was about. If you don't know,
I know.
Sega CD was trying to be the FMV system.
I know. You would never release your cool system and be like, here's the games that barely use this technology. But just, man, what kid was excited for Tomcat Alley? I was too young. I didn't know Sega CD was coming out, but come on, man.
So one thing to bring up, and this is really a hardware extra, but also necessary to, not completely necessary, but the fact that it had the CD backup RAM cart that came with it, so your first memory cart, I thought that was pretty cool because that was the first time. I know other stuff may have had that in other ways, but for me, this was the first time I was seeing basically a memory card for any system, and I thought that was pretty awesome.
Okay, I guess, but it was so the Sega CD has built-in battery backup memory.
It does.
So the only reason to have the memory card is if you need more storage. I don't how many people needed that.
I don't know, but I thought it was cool that it existed. The idea that you could take your stuff with you to your friend's house. That was novel to me. Not that any of your friends had a Sega CD because you were going to the one person's house who had it.
All right. I mean, that's cool. I never thought of that. Because you see, when I see a Sega CD and I'm like, oh my God, this is a 30-year-old piece of garbage and I'm playing Shining Force CD. I do not want to lose this save to this 30-year-old piece of garbage. So I always see those and I'm like, okay, these are literally just to back up my saves to make sure nothing happens to my save.
Yeah. True. Cool. Anyways, we can now talk about your favorite one, the Sega, the CDX.
CDX, Johnny, released in mid 1994 because Sega CD has legs. For $400, $1994. If you guys want to know why you can't find a CDX, holy fuck, was it unnecessary and expensive. Also very cool looking, I think. So the CDX, it basically looks like a portable CD player. And then it
was billed as a portable CD player.
It is a portable CD player, and it just has a little chonky Sega Genesis cartridge slot at the top, because it also plays Sega Genesis games, including, of course, Sega CD games. And if you are the kind of person who carries around a boombox size, it's not as big as a boombox, but it's pretty fucking big for a portable CD player. I guess you could carry this around too.
Yeah, it did have some limitations there. As far as getting the 32X into it, I think you couldn't do it. Some people have worked around that, but it's a cool idea, but I don't know if I would be rocking this as a music portable. They are pretty expensive. People still like them. They love the small form factor of it because while big for a portable CD player, small for a console still, especially in that day and age, especially compared to the gigantic Sega CD ensemble that you had to build with your Genesis. This was oh my God, you can just play a Sega CD game and Genesis game on this tiny little thing. Amazing. So really cool for that, but everything else a little lackluster. They're still going for if you're just trying to buy the unit by itself, over $500.
Jeez.
Which is wild to me.
I mean
you can find
name a
some
friend
for
you
less.
had who had one of these things.
Oh, none. I mean, there's still a lot on eBay and a lot in sold. So some 300, some 500 range, depending. If you start to look for a boxed one, you're looking at nearly $1,000 and $1,000 plus on all of them, especially if you get really nice.
Considering a Sega CD now is approaching $1,000 complete in box, I feel like that is almost more reasonable considering these must be much rarer than Sega CDs. Right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I feel like, we're talking about like who had this system, but I've come across like back in the day when I was like going through garage sales and stuff, I came across a lot of Sega CD systems. I think I still have a box with like, I don't know, 2 Model 2s in it and like 4 Sega CD systems just sitting in a box in my garage.
I think I have 4 Sega CDs, and I don't know where they came from.
And this
I have
is
5 Sega CDs because I have a boxed one up there too.
Well, I'm not talking about my boxed ones, which I have like 4 of.
Yeah, I just have 4 ridiculous. That like just came from somewhere.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Garage sales, just like trading around kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I think it's worth remembering. So this was a $400 thing, but it's also a Sega Genesis. So
yes,
you would be the weird person who it's 1994 and you're like, it's time to invest in a platform, a 5-year-old platform Sega Genesis. I'm sure there were people getting into consoles late. There's always those people looking for the budget like PS3s towards the end of the PS3 lifespan. But so this was cheaper than buying a Genesis and a Sega CD, but man, that's a pretty big purchase for a late in the life console.
That's true, but like just think about minimizing your setup so you could actually just plug it in with one wire and like one power adapter.
No one cares about that. You just care about the games.
True.
If I'm 9 years old, which is like the audience for video games at that time, I don't give a shit how complex it is. Let me play true. Sonic CD.
All right, fair.
Anyway, so CDX came packed in with Sonic CD and Echo and the arcade collection. So another like pretty killer lineup, I think.
Super good pack-ins. Like if you bought it and you just got that, you were like pretty good. Like, you're like, this is awesome.
Like what did I get with my Switch? Nothing. I didn't even get 1-2 Switch, and that game sucks.
That's a game they literally should have given you. It should have just been loaded onto the system. What a piece of garbage.
I mean, to be fair, I got Breath of the Wild, which is like one of the best games ever. Oh, but yeah, damn it. Give me cool stuff. What else did I get recently? What are some other recent consoles? I obviously don't have a PS5 because I don't know if they exist yet. What was the last console I got before that?
An Xbox, but I mean, now everything is, services, so it doesn't really matter. Like they're packing.
I mean, you could just download Fortnite for free. Yeah, but. JVC XI Johnny, the fourth Sega CD we're going to talk about, and the worst named console of all time. I don't care how stupid of a console name you could find. This is the worst one.
Probably. I thought it always sounded futuristic and cool.
Johnny, why does this exist? It literally came out the same month as the CDX, which does, as far as I could tell, the same thing in a cooler form factor.
Yeah, except it does it better video outputs, less prone to scratching. You can also attach the 32X. Just a better system all around, better outputs.
You can't attach the 32X to a CDX? I don't know.
You can kind of, but you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to. I don't know. So the JVC XI, the localized version of the Wonder Mega, way better
Worse than the Wonder Mega. The Wonder Mega, such a cool name, also was a better system.
So it is a Sega CD. It's got a cartridge slot for Sega Genesis games. And then is it also billed as a karaoke machine? Because it comes with karaoke CDs.
Yes, it does.
Does it come with multiple? It comes with multiple karaoke CDs. So it's also strange that it's such a Japanese console, it feels like. It's strange that they even bothered to release it here.
It is a little weird that they released it here. But it's the way I would, when I had to play Sega CD, this is what I would put up. So like I had this out in the Genesis because ease of use and reliability of the system, better laser than the CDX, better moving parts too, like just a better construction all around, I felt.
Yeah, I'm one of the few people who hates the XI, not just because of its stupid name. I think it looks terrible. I don't like the design, and for the American version, I don't like the color, and we've argued about it on the show. It's Japanese black. Wonder Mega is black. The American JVC XI is dark blue. Put a 32X in your JVC XI, and you'll be like, this is the grossest thing that has ever been created. Because they're not even matching. It's the worst.
Is it blue? Like I always thought it was
dark
black.
Blue. I hate it.
I'm like looking at mine. It still looks black.
Okay. Also, JVC XI price $500 compared to the CDX, which is $400. Remember those CDX pack-ins were fucking badass.
Yeah.
JVC XI pack-ins, you got 2 karaoke CDs, Prize Fighter, and Compton's Encyclopedia for $100 more? Are you fucking kidding me?
It is weaker in that respect, yeah. But we're my love for it came after the fact, so none of that mattered.
I know. What is a complete in box JVC XI cost? I'm going to say $2,000 just because I know how rare these are.
Less than you'd think. You can buy an XI for, around $300 to $500, even sometimes a little less. Complete in box ones going for less than $800.
There's one on eBay right now. Well, there's one in the it's like a refurbished box. Oh, wow, this is $800 and no one's buying it.
Yep.
All right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Probably because it has such a stupid
best
name.
offer.
This even comes with like bonus karaoke CDs. I bet those karaoke CDs are rare as fuck.
Probably, yeah. That means the person who owned this did it for the karaoke.
It is. Oh man, it comes with like its own. Look at these dumbass controllers. Now that I'm looking at an eBay auction, it comes with JVC XI Sega Genesis controllers, which are dark blue, but the buttons are still black. It looks terrible.
And to be clear, it is a specifically branded controller. So if you're picking one up, yes, you can plug a regular Genesis controller in, but the XI did have a branded controller that came with it. Something to note. There's also 2 different versions. There's like a full picture box that matches the Sega CD aesthetic and the blue and the white kind of color pattern. And then there's one that comes in like this red box, which I don't know what that version was all about, but it's gigantic and ugly, and it exists.
I'm super tempted to buy this XI, but I know it's not complete. It's missing one of the CDs, and it looks like it doesn't have any manuals. So, I don't need that in my life for $800, Johnny.
But look, it's got 3 JVC controllers. Man, they are balling.
You'd be pretty balling using them. But to be clear, the JVC branded controllers are like the chonky, shitty first generation Genesis controllers that no one actually wants to use.
Yep.
The ones that got re-released for the Switch for some reason, the bad Sega Genesis controller, I have no idea why. Nostalgia, sure.
Yeah. Does anyone have nostalgia for that awful controller?
I do. I always hated it. It was always the worst. Can you imagine? So I grew up with that as a kid, and then I go to my friend's house who has NES and Super Nintendo, and using a Super Nintendo controller where it has so many more buttons and it's so much more comfortable. I'm just like, what am I missing out? This is ridiculous. I need to become a Nintendo kid. How am I a Sega kid? This is the worst.
Why am I holding this awful croissant? Yes. Just this horrible plastic croissant in my hand instead of a real controller.
Yeah. And then upgrading from that to a Nintendo 64, and it's like my child brain is just like, video game controllers are just this way. They're just all terrible. It's just normal, right?
Nope. Nope. There was actually good controllers once upon a time. They started that way. Tell me about the last system though. That's like it for the JVC XI. My favorite.
Oh yeah, we had just like 2 expensive obscure systems that no one owned that could play Sega CD games. So let's talk about the 3rd expensive obscure system that no one owned that can play Sega CD games. The Laser Active, the Pioneer Laser Active, Johnny.
Our favorite thing to talk about on the show is the Laser Active.
I don't know why it keeps coming up. We have we done a So You Want to Collect Turbo Graphics? Because it'll come up again at some point.
We did.
We did all right, whatever. Yeah, Pioneer Laser Active. It's a Laserdisc player, and you could buy an add-on, the Sega Genesis pack, or maybe it was just called the Sega pack. I forgot what pack stands for.
Module.
And you plug it in, and so I'm pretty sure it can't play Sega CD games unless you have the Sega pack. But once you plug in the Sega pack, you can just put a regular Sega CD game in that giant-ass tray. It probably had a little pop-out tray for regular CDs.
There's a specific Sega CD pack, right? It says Sega CD on it.
We're going... What? Johnny, we have to cut this out. What are you talking about?
on the module, there's a pack, and it says Sega CD
It's probably a Genesis and Sega CD pack. Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about the Laser Active more. We've talked about it a bunch. Again, I don't know what a Laser Active costs. Let's just say $1,000. I've seen one Laser Active in my life. The controller was broken, and I was devastated.
Yeah, it's like at least $1,000, and then the modules can cost anywhere between like $500 to $1,000 as well.
Brutal. And then you have a console that some weird old collector guys care about.
Yeah, and so and be careful because there's like a Mega Drive console, which I don't know if the Mega Drive pack works in just the American laser active. Like there's one specifically for Mega Drive and Mega CD.
I mean, if you're collecting laser active, go all out, get all of them from all the regions.
Absolutely. Like I think it would be way cooler to be rocking the Mega Drive pack in your American laser active.
Johnny, how hard is it to collect? No, it's first of all, no, it's not cool to get Mega Drive stuff for you. Maybe it is. I don't know. How hard is it to collect for Sega CD, and is it a popular system to collect for?
It's not that popular, I wouldn't say. I think that we like it much more than other people. And I wouldn't say it's very hard. I would say there aren't any real set killers, as we talked about last time. There's just a couple expensive games, and there are like a few at the top end, but overall, not too hard. You're going to like find the biggest hurdle with collecting Sega CD is getting over how the aesthetic falls apart and like, where do you cut yourself off? Are you adding the Sega 32X games, the Sega CD 32X games, plus the just the 32X? Like there's some that are in like an orange box, and then there's the Sega CD games that come in like these weird blue boxes, and then there's cardboard boxes, and then there's the standard like hard plastic clamshell that we all love and hate at the same time. It's not hard though. Like games are available.
I think you have to be, you definitely have to be someone who's willing to buy like literally 100% of your games on eBay. Because when you go into the game store, you'll be like, oh, here's the Sega CD section. Oh, it's Prize Fighter and Sonic CD. Great. I don't think I've ever walked into a game store and seen something really exciting for the Sega CD.
No, like this is like, my recommendation if you want to collect the Sega CD is, now that conventions are going to be a thing, go to a convention. Like there will be a table that has some and you can like pick them up and look at them. That's way better than buying an eBay because the cases are so fragile that they just break. They're just brittle. It becomes, and the more the plastic has been exposed to the sun, the more brittle those cases become. So you have to be very careful. So if you can just go and just go to a convention and pick up as many as you can, that's great. And if you can get extras for replacements, that's great. But also, if you're collecting Sega CD, you have to be comfortable with a certain amount of general damage to your cases. Because to get all perfect cases is going to be a very hard endeavor. And it's going to be very expensive. If you can just be like, I'm okay with a broken hinge here and there, or a crack on the plastic on the back or front, like not too bad, not completely destroyed. But if you can be comfortable with it, your life is going to be a lot easier than if you are going to walk in here and be like, I need everything pristine, especially because then you're like, okay, these cases are hard to deal with. But the cardboard boxes, there's like, not the hard style cases, but like these cardboard flip style cases they have are awful. They are one of the worst boxes ever made for any system. It's TurboGrafx level bad, except there's no like consistent insert for them, so they're always trashed. To get a nice Sega CD cardboard box, very tough.
I think they're borderline worse than TurboGrafx in how unnecessarily big and fragile they are. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
really
they're
bad.
worse. Like, I think the cardboard is a little bit thicker, but the structure around it is worse. So yeah, it's one of the worst boxes, hands down. It might be the worst cardboard box ever made.
Sure. I mean, maybe. I mean, I think 32X is also pretty high up there just because they are so unnecessarily large. Not 32X, 3DO.
3DO, yeah, pretty bad, but no one's collecting that.
Okay. I mean, I have a shelf of 3DO games I don't know what to do with because they're so big. They're just double stacked at this point because I don't want to put another shelf so big and like ruin the size of all the shelves below it because I have to make another shelf big enough to handle all these stupid ass 3DO games.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, what would you rate worse than this case? Anything? Like Game Gear boxes are pretty awful, but these ones are bigger and worse somehow. It's like Turbo, Game Gear, and this being the worst, I think. And then like you can throw 3DO in there. I don't have a lot of experience with 3DO, but that's like my top worst list.
I feel like it's a double miss for the Sega CD cardboard boxes because they already screwed up with the giant jewel cases, which make like no sense.
No.
And there's already there's a perfect way to distribute CDs. It's called a jewel case. Just put it in a jewel case. It doesn't have to be like, who is making their purchasing decision being like, wow, that box is twice as big as a jewel case. I mean, I'm sure that the reason they did it is because it obviously works. But PlayStation seemed to do just fine with just jewel cases. They could have just used a jewel case for the entire Sega
and
CD.
they did use jewel cases, and like
regular ass jewel cases. Oh, you mean inside the boxes?
Yeah, in the boxes. And then like on the Mega CD, they just used regular jewel cases. So what the hell happened here in America?
I think people think Americans are idiots, or Americans are just idiots because the Japanese aren't buying products based on their packaging, or they value things like cute, sensible packaging, and Americans value waste and excess, which seems to track pretty well as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, even the PAL games, though, just had like regular jewel cases, like double cases and stuff. I don't know how we got roped into these awful boxes. Just the worst.
All right, Johnny, how deep does collecting Sega CD go?
I think the people who are into Sega CD go pretty hard. They go pretty deep. They go for some wild stuff. But as far as like, is there a huge depth to explore? Not really. I mean, it's only 147-ish games big, so the pond is not extremely deep. Do you have anything counter to that?
No, I mean, there's some pins, there's some strategy guides, but
Yep.
I mean, there's not enough games for there to really be too much exciting to go for.
And there's not limited editions and things like that. You know, the games are the games for the system. Yeah, like you can get some working design pins. There are some cool variants you can go get, which we'll talk about later, but even those, there's not even an excess. If you want to go hard at the Sega CD, like if you want a console you can go like hard at, this is the console for you. You can go hard at it, and it's pretty obtainable.
I'm trying to think here. It could just be because I'm a bad, uncultured gamer, but I don't think there's a single Sega CD game that I've ever played like an import or translation of. Is there like an interesting Japanese game that I'm not thinking of?
Oh, man. Like I can think of plenty for the Saturn, but I don't know for the Sega CD. Huh.
Because, like, when you go Saturn, like, yeah, you could get the full Saturn set in America, but then, like, there's this whole amazing ocean of other games that you have not collected yet. And I've never felt like that's the case with Sega CD. It could just be because I don't know enough about Japanese Mega CD games.
But
I have
Shadowrun?
a feeling, like, Shadowrun, sure, it's a port. Like, I have a feeling that it's not the case.
Was Koei 2, was that Sega CD or did that go up to Saturn? Saturn, that was Saturn, right?
Yeah. K.
I love just saying it wrong for you. Record of Lotus War?
Like, John, you're not going to tell me like, oh, you missed out on Record of Lotus War, the import from Japan? There's so much more to explore on the Sega CD. So
no, I'm struggling here.
Japanese Mega CD lovers, please write in and tell me all the amazing games I'm missing out on by not branching out my. Interest.
So one of the things that everyone starts talking about, like, hey, Final Fight, which is a game you can play on the Sega CD, and I think it's the best version of Final Fight in America. They're like, you can get the uncensored one from Japan. So I guess that's it. Like, it's pretty bad when a version that you can already play is the best import that people talk about.
I guess, yeah. I mean, but as someone who has dived into the Final Fight rabbit hole, like, I could see Final Fight people going and just buying another version because it's uncensored. Because, like, Final Fight 1 on GBA and Final Fight Guy and Final Fight CD are all kind of different. So I mostly played them all because I wanted to find one that I could actually beat, and the answer was I am not good enough at Final Fight to beat any of those fucking games.
You can't beat Final Fight?
No, not at all. What? I suck at beat 'em ups, and I hate beat 'em ups. So I both don't have the skills or the motivation to beat it. Johnny, it wasn't like lack of trying, because I tried to get good at literally all four games, except for Final Fight 1. Final Fight 1 is so fucking hard, but the other ones, like, I legitimately tried, and I could not beat Final Fight.
I'm sorry, what? You can
I tried
beat
to
Ninja
find, like,
Gaiden?
the cheesiest strategies. I'm pretty sure Guy has the cheesiest strategy, so I tried the hard in Final Fight Guy. Tried the hardest in Final Fight Guy, but, like, yeah, I can't beat Final Fight, dude.
That's so weird. I remember being so dissatisfied, like, on the... Just getting through Final Fight and being like, okay, whatever.
I mean, you're a badass gamer kid, probably.
I was pretty good at video game. As good as I was as a kid, I am so awful now. That skill does go away.
So the thing is, again, with Final Fight and most beat 'em ups, you could get through like 80% of the game with like your fucking eyes closed once you understand the basic mechanics. And then like the last 2 levels are probably ridiculous. And so when you're a kid with nothing but time, like getting through that first 80% is nothing. But as an adult, it's like, oh my God, I have to sit here. I just lost my last life again. I have to sit here and go through another hour and a half of the first few levels really carefully. It's beat 'em ups are not for me. I hate beat 'em ups.
They aren't all that interesting.
I love rhythm games. You could you set rhythm games immediately to the difficulty you want, and it gives you just 90 seconds of pure gameplay. It's the perfect genre, Johnny.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Games for the Sega CD. You know the reason we collect it, Johnny. You want to talk about the launch games?
Yeah, there's some. We already talked about the pack-ins, which being Sherlock Holmes, Soul Feast, also sold these on the Genesis, and the Sega Classic Arcade Collection. But there's Black Hole Assault, Chuck Rock, Cobra Command, Making the Video in XS, Making the Video Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Night Trap, hello, controversial title, Nintendo meme, if ever there was one, Night Trap, and sorry, Sewer Shark. The pack-ins are awesome, but the rest of the launch lineup, like, pretty weak.
Is this on purpose? So they came out with 11 games, and they're just like, we need to pack in literally the best 3 games.
I mean, maybe. It didn't give you a lot to buy. But I mean, they were like, man, imagine like In Excess. That's a band, by the way. Like, can you imagine the people who are like super jazzed about In Excess and then like Marky Mark, like they were selling those games, or we'll just call them titles, to like some group of people who also who bought a Sega Genesis and then this add-on. Like, who were these people? Did anyone buy this specifically for the Making the Video games? Like, that's so weird to me.
I don't know. If there's anyone out there who doesn't know, the Make My Video series, I think there's 4 of them on the Sega CD. It's literally
Crisscross and
Crisscross, and then not something culture. Who is it? You're missing the best one.
What culture?
CNC Music Factory. Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Okay. Because that one's it's called something else. It's like Power something. Anyway. You make a music, so it plays like a music video for you, and while it's playing it, you could edit it in real time, or you could like put effects over the video. And then, so you're seeing this as it happens, so you're like editing in real time. Then after that, it plays the same song and same video that you just edited in real time back to you. So you're essentially experiencing the same thing twice, and then the musical artist rates how you did. Somehow there's a way to do good and bad, and it unlocks little FMV scenes. And like there is some charm to it because like the real artists are there and there's unique FMV clips of them. So you could go and CNC Music Factory will be like, man, that was whack. You're an asshole. Why did you make that music video for us? So there is some fun to it in that sense, but also I think each of the games has 3 songs. So
really exciting. Make sure you paid $50 for that.
Some of the worst video games ever made.
So the cool thing about this, or like what they were doing, like not cool, but we'll say their point of view, they were definitely trying to highlight what they considered the strength of the Sega CD and what set it apart. And that was going for all this FMV stuff, Sewer Shark, these video clips mid-game. Like this was supposed to sell you on like what the future of video games were. They were very excited about these low compression video clips and this CD audio you were going to experience. And games like Marky Mark, like this was doing all of it. It was giving you the video and CD quality audio. Oh my God, amazing. But not really.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And we already said the last game was Shadowrun in Japan. Who knows? I don't know why that got a port over there, but not here. Probably because why would they bother? I think the last game in America was Demolition Man? November 1995? Is there another one after that?
I don't think so.
All right, Demolition Man. Is it expensive? Who knows?
Not really.
Okay. Go pick up Demolition Man, guys. We're official. We're hyping it on the Collector's Quest. Last Sega CD game. It's historic.
Yeah. Sub 100.
All right.
But let's talk about some games that actually are expensive. What a transition.
Expensive Sega CD games? Well, I never.
Are there any?
KO Flying Squadron, Johnny. Koei Flying Squadron. Yes. It's the same letters as Koei in a different order, somehow pronounced the same way. Go figure that out. The last one sold for $3,250, Johnny. And we literally just talked about this, but I was making fun of a heritage auction sale where a sealed one sold for like $4,000. Crazy. I think this game is insanely expensive. I think it's too expensive for its cultural relevance / popularity to rarity. I understand that people like shooters, but man, over $3,000. You could buy a lot of cool video games for $3,000.
And in response to your question, someone tell me that they bought this and don't have a set and
you are correct. Yes.
We had people respond to us and say they definitely did. So
I can't believe we did, but I'm very wrong there. People just want to collect KO Flying Squadron. I think the next one down makes a lot more sense. I think it's basically the game that is the linchpin of the Sega CD library, because without it, you'd look at it and be like, oh. Snatcher.
It's like, it's the American version that we got, and wow, it's a landmark game. There's no other way to say it. It's very important.
It is, a super popular Hideo Kojima visual novel, basically. It's got some adventure game elements. I guess it technically has some light gun elements. But yeah, I mean, not only is it a super cool game, it's got great voiceover, great music. It's not a particularly rare game, but I think its popularity is the reason that it's obviously so expensive. Damn it, Johnny, what was I going to say?
You were probably going to talk about why it's based on Blade Runner and other sci-fi films. And
I mean, it's got a lot of influence. Yeah, it's got Blade Runner influence. It's got Terminator influence.
Kira, if you want to get that.
Sure. Yeah, it's a super cool game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh,
and if you love that aesthetic,
I had never. I mean, there's probably examples, but I'd never played just a straight up kind of visual novel like this until Snatcher. I understand it's a super popular genre in Japan, and now you'll see super popular on the Vita. But you don't go to a Sega Genesis and you're just loaded up with visual novels. Whereas on the PC Engine, I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of visual novels that are just here's a visual novel. I don't know. It's a game that you read. It's not a game that you play as much.
Yeah, I mean, it was really leaning into the story aspects as visual novels do, which, I mean, RPGs kind of did that, but this was the first kind of game that wasn't actually just an RPG game that I experienced that was kind of doing this.
Yeah. Go buy Snatcher. Snatcher, if you ask me for a historical price to Snatcher, I would say $500 is what Snatcher costs, maybe $400. So the fact that it's hovering around $1,200 maybe right now, I mean, it doesn't seem like the word. I mean, it's just $1,000 for a game. It is so hard for me to recommend just $1,000 for a video game. But I think Snatcher is both an amazing game. It's from one of my favorite creators. And I think it's a super collectible game. When people have Snatcher on the shelf, it's oh, fuck yeah, there's a video game collector over there, guys. Look at that Snatcher. Kind of has that Earthbound effect for me.
Snatcher, Limited Run did their soundtrack version of this, and I know lots of people hoped that Snatcher was going to get some sort of limited run version on the PS4 or something. And this is one of those games where I kind of hope that it did get some sort of modern release in a collection or something so more people could experience it.
Who is sitting on the rights to Snatcher? Because Konami is a bunch of whores that don't want to make any new games, so you'd have to assume that at some point they will re-release Snatcher.
You would think, but it's been so long. We could get this and Police Knots. How good would that be?
Now this would be way better than Police Knots because it's a way better game.
Well, I'm saying give us a collection of both.
I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know. Yeah, no, it looks like it's just straight up Konami, so I assume they have the rights to it. So I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're clearly just whoring out the Metal Gear franchise. So just give people Snatcher. People will buy it. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, make it a hidden game that you can play in one of the Metal Gears, please.
No, don't. No, this is money grubbing Konami. I'm talking about like this is a game Konami should take, and they'd be like, limited run. We're releasing 2,000 copies of Snatcher for $299 each.
Sure.
I just want them to do something super dumb. Add Police Nuts in there. Why not?
Absolutely. I'll buy it. I'll do it.
No, they can't put Police Nuts in because there's no official translation, and that would mean they have to do work. And Konami's not going to be doing any work.
Well, they could just steal the fan translation. They're not above that.
Would be fucking hilarious if they did that.
I mean, it's their right to take it. It's their property, so they totally could just do that. Anyways, next game.
The Space Adventure, Johnny.
Super sweet PC port.
Is this Space Adventure Cobra? Is that the real Japanese name?
I believe so, yes.
If you put, I think maybe gun to my head, I would say this is the rarest Sega CD game besides KO. The only thing it has going for it is its rarity, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone play it or care about it. It's also an adventure game similar to Snatcher, but I remember playing it and like within like a couple hours, I'm like, this isn't as good as Snatcher.
It sure isn't. But it's fine. It's not terrible.
Okay. Yeah,
it's definitely a thing to own.
Definitely never beat it. Popful Mail, $500 to $600.
We'll talk about a game you love. Tell us about Popful
I love Popful Mail. Yeah, Popful Mail's a kind of an adventure, semi-open world platformer. I played Popful Mail on Sega CD and the PC 6001. I think it's a super cool game. It is super hard. You will have to save and reload a lot because it's one of those games they made super hard for Americans. They're just like, this game's too easy. What if we made it, 6 times harder? Popful Mail, super collectible and a good game. Kind of up there with Snatcher in games worth owning, I'd say.
And it's done by Working Design, so it has that extra collector appeal going for it. So,
yep.
And there's a strategy guide and pins because Working Design always has that stuff. There's another level of collectability for Popful Mail and Working Designs like really sunk their teeth into a lot of Sega CD games, which expanded what they did going forward.
And I think every single game on this expensive list that we're talking about right now, it's just like this is just like a 2D platformer with voiceover and CD music. Like there is nothing special and FMV centric about this, and that's pretty much every game we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, pretty much. Just to further go on to that Working Design, like one of the big selling points of being a Sega CD collector is the Working Design games that are on here. So if you're into Working Design, Sega CD is a good system to look at least to pick up their catalog. And if you collect Working Designs, you probably already know that and are already picking those up.
Similar to the Saturn, they put their big ass pink logo on the spine of all the games, so you could quickly scan your library and be like, "Oh, those are my Working Designs games because I'm a collector." I have Albert Odyssey, a game no one likes, no one plays, but we're still gonna spend $200 for it because it got the little pink logo.
Absolutely.
Fuck Albert Odyssey. I think the Working Designs Sega CD games are fine though.
Good, great, thanks.
Johnny, Earthworm Jim Special Edition.
So good.
This one caught both of us by surprise.
Yeah.
This is now a $500 Sega CD game.
How?
I don't know.
I mean, I
don't know.
Remember it was like kind of expensive, but like top tier expensive Sega CD game?
Like this is the 5th one on the list. Yes, this is like top tier. Earthworm Jim Special Edition. I don't know. It's
based off the Genesis version.
Earthworm Jim.
It contained some bonus sections like New Junk City Part 2, and I think there was like one new level and new audio, and that was it.
Yeah. Cool. If you're it's like there must be, if you like go on Steam right now and search for Earthworm Jim, can you get a version of the game with all that junk, or is this like the exclusive secret Sega CD stuff they don't want you to know about?
So I'm reading, and it says there were alternate endings when you won on practice or difficult which was only with this version.
Ooh.
And it was also, but you know what? It was also a Sega Channel service game as well. So that's interesting. If you don't know about Sega Channel, it was like the early internet version. Like the Satellaview is to Super Nintendo, Sega Channel is to Sega Genesis and Sega CD.
Johnny, I don't know. I can't confirm. I think people are just hyping the price because it's a franchise people like, and it's pretty hard to find on Sega CD. It's not like maybe the hardest thing to find. Earthworm Jim was remade in HD in 2010, and the Sega CD level was not included in the remake, Johnny. Exclusive level to the Sega CD. I don't even like Earthworm Jim.
But how much is the Mega CD version? That's what I want to know.
Shut up, Johnny. No one knows. No one's going to buy it because it doesn't have the cool blue and white case.
But it's got the sweet small jewel case that you can fit on a shelf without a problem.
So no one will know I have it. It's just going to blend in with all my other jewel cases. Yeah. What's the point of buying a $500 game if it's not going to make a statement on my shelf, Johnny?
I don't know. I'm sorry. You're right. Continue.
Radical Rex! $450. I think that might even be low because both of those copies that sold for $450 did not have the special sticker, Johnny.
That's crazy. Radical Rex isn't a surprise because that's been, of the early Sega CD collectors, Radical Rex was the one picked out. Everyone knew Radical Rex and you had to have the sticker. So the fact that it reached 400 with the sticker, what is that hitting? 600, 700? How much is that?
See, I don't know how many people are serious about Sega CD or care that much, but yeah, I would guess at least $100 bonus.
The $400 one? The $400 one had 22 bids.
I mean, because there's always going to be people trying to get stuff cheap. I don't know. But yeah, Radical Rex is another one that's clearly only on here for pure rarity. Definitely putting it up with Space Adventure among the rarest Sega CD games. It is literally just an upgraded port of Radical Rex for the Sega Genesis, a game about a skateboarding dinosaur. In some sense, so this actually was they came out at the same time. So in some sense, let's put out our new game on the new system too. But looking back, you're who cares about Radical Rex enough to buy the fancy Sega CD version? The one thing it does have going for it, there is a rap song. When you put Radical Rex into your Sega CD, it's about 45 seconds long, and you should listen to it. It's great.
You definitely should hear that song.
With a burst of fire, Rex is on the scene with a something. I don't know. It's really good.
Tyler, spitting bars. Thanks. I will say, this is a weird aside. There was a lot of skateboarding dinosaurs in the 90s, or not a lot, but the fact that there's more than one is weird. If you've never seen Denver, the Last Dinosaur cartoon, the whole opening logo. Also, super great theme song. Go check out that theme song. Yes, it features a skateboarding dinosaur. It's just wow.
I mean, it makes sense. I think dinosaurs and skateboarding both bigger in the 90s, so put two good things together.
Yeah, just go, make sure you hear that soundtrack. Denver, the Last Dinosaur. You're what is this? It's an earworm. It's awful.
All right, Johnny, I think I'm going to go with one more and then I'm going to axe the rest.
Okay.
Because I don't think they're rare enough. Well, I mean, they're just expensive. They're not expensive enough. Here, I'm just going to change my criteria. Fatal Fury Special, Johnny, is a $400 game. I believe if this wasn't the last Sega CD game I got, it was the hardest one for me to find, I think. Just a rare fighting game. I actually don't know anything about Fatal Fury because I don't care about fighting games.
I mean, it was pretty uncommon. It's still kind of hard to find, but it's available. It's definitely, that's the thing about all the Sega CD games now. Back when we were hunting, I don't know if more people were just into it or less people because the prices weren't what they are now, but it just didn't show up at the rate it does now. Right now there's 3 or something available. Same with Space Adventure. And it was super hard to pin these things down once upon a time.
I mean, it could just be that, the people like me who are the people who wanted to get it, got it. And now how many more people like me are out there who are really gonna spend $400 on Fatal Fury Special, which
the hype there's no hype around Sega CD right now. Even with limited run releasing a few games, no hype.
Fucking ridiculous. Yes. Do we want to talk about some actually rare games? Man, I wish I had some hidden gems for you here, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a small library, so there's hard for there to be hidden gems. It's easily explored. And this is for what was once not a documented system, it is now a very well documented system.
Yes. And I think if you just look at a price list and you look at everything that's over like $100, and if you've heard of it, it's expensive because it's popular. And if you haven't heard of it, it's expensive because it's rare. So the rarest games are KO, Space Adventure, and Radical Rex, I think.
Probably. And that specifically with that sticker too. And then there's other like weird edge case stuff. NBA Hang Time. Hard to find, especially with the poster.
So
that's ESPN like, NBA Hang Time.
This is man, this is so weird. Like I feel like there's a lot of hard to find Sega CD games that come in waves. Because if you asked me to name like the top 10 rare Sega CD games, I think NBA Hang Time is one of the ones I would put on there. But then before the episode, we go look it up. There's like 5 copies on eBay. And
that was a struggle.
I've bought this game multiple times because I bought it for my set and then I bought it again because I wanted the poster. And both times I had a hard time finding any copy for sale. And now there's 5. So it's like, it's super wavy, I think.
And exactly the same thing with NFL football trivia. When I was doing mine, people could not find this game. It was hard to find. I had to confirm it existed at one point before we could even get it on. So I was in a point where we were arguing whether it was real. And now here it is. And then there's like 5. And it's kind of expensive too, so yeah, I don't know.
People want that doesn't even register for me. I don't remember the NFL trivia game being like hard to find or expensive, so I must have just like breezed through that. Maybe I just got lucky when I was checking things off a checklist.
Well, I mean that's kind of part of the problem, right? Like we all do this in a vacuum, so we hope to come to a group consensus, but there aren't that many people going hard at Sega CD.
The other thing we've got listed is the red box variant of Wonder Dog, Johnny.
It's the first print. Say it right.
Okay, the first print of Wonder Dog.
The green box is the variant.
I call everything a variant. Man, so yeah, Wonder Dog, I don't know how rare Wonder Dog is. There's a few copies that are in sold, just like a $100 game.
I mean, and that's a weird one because that's really low. Wonder Dog used to sell for Redbox used to sell for 500. Just never came up. I remember recommending people. It was like, oh man, one came out for like 250. You should grab that. Never see Wonder Dog. And now I feel bad because one just sold for like $100. No one cares.
Well, no, that was a buy it now. Someone fucked up there, I think.
You think clearly.
So? Yes, because there's 2 more on eBay unsold. One for $750 and one for $600. And I agree, like that 751 looks really nice. It's like probably the nicest Redbox Wonder Dog you could ever find. But yeah, I agree. Like Redbox Wonder Dog is a thing that I would look for, and there would just be none available. And I feel like the only reason there are 2 available right now is because they're so fucking ridiculously priced. Who is going to pay $750 to have? Oh, guys, I got the rare color box of Wonder Dog.
No, just go buy Snatcher.
Like, I mean, if you're buying Redbox, oh, you know what? This isn't even as nice as I thought. It just has shrink wrap on it. Man, bragging rights have to stop at a point. Like, if you're just buying something rare, like Redbox Wonder Dog, literally a game no one cares about, who is the buyer of this for $750? I get why someone bought it for $90, essentially the same price as the green box, if not cheaper. Someone really screwed up that buy it now. But you there's no one to brag to. Like, you could show it to me and Johnny and we'd be like, hell fucking Redbox Wonder Dog. But if we found out you paid $750 for it, I'd be like, we need to sit down and talk about your priorities. Hopefully you could catch someone slipping. You find someone listing that Redbox Wonder Dog for $100, then you can go buy it.
So I have a quick question because you said something. You said you call all games variants, right? If they have a variant, either one can be the variant to you?
Yes.
Do you feel that way about stadium events?
I don't I need time to prepare an answer. I need to discuss this with my team, and we're gonna go public with a statement at a later date.
Okay. Also, a follow-up question. If somebody made a clone of you, would they be the clone, or would you both be clones in that point? Because one is the original and one is the clone.
I don't know if variant and clone are the exact same word.
I mean, kinda. There's a first one and there's a second one.
I mean, which Tyler variant are you talking about? You're talking about Tyler variant A or Tyler variant B?
I'm talking about the first one.
The original variant
print.
Or the new variant?
No, that's not a variant. The original print.
So is the original COVID-19, is that not a COVID-19 variant? Only the new variants are variants?
No, COVID-19 is already a variant of all the other COVIDs they've had.
You were the first person that ever came to me and said, like, oh no, the original print doesn't count as a variant. And I'm almost positive that Redbox Wonder Dog is the thing that that's how this all came up. And I've seen other people with that same, like, I've seen people now say, like, that's not a variant, that's the original. I feel like more people are on my side, where they're just like, if it's something different and there's different versions of it, they're all just variants.
No, like, you can't have a variant, like, you need the original to have a variant.
But, like, you could take variant minutia so much, like, you go down to date codes on IC chips. Like, are you going to say, like, it's a variant unless it's, like, the first thing off the line?
I mean, you could. I think it's not useful to talk about things like this, but we're talking about things that are very obviously quite different.
I will agree to disagree with you, but I'm happy to use your terminology for the rest of the episode.
Okay. I just thought it was weird. Also, I really wanted to ask you if you had a clone, would they be considered a variant? Sorry. All right. Let's talk about some in-demand games and key franchises really quick. Hey, Sonic's one of them. Sonic CD, Night Trap. You know, everyone knows Night Trap. Lunar, kind of a big game on the system. Also, because there's so many variants and it's working design. So, Snatcher, you may have heard us talk about that. Popful Mail, because working design and Tyler likes it. So I think that's why that's on there.
Likes it.
And because I like it, Shining Force CD. Not the best Shining Force. It's really a compilation of the Game Gear games, but pretty cool that they are on CD. And there's some extra stuff in there too. But yeah, Shining Force. Shining Force is great. Go play Shining Force.
Yeah, and in terms of games that, like, people are, like, a lot of people are seriously picking up and playing, except for, like, I don't know, the novelty of Sword Shark, I think that's, like, pretty close to it. I know there are people who like playing a lot of different games, but I think Sonic CD and maybe, like, Snatcher and Lunar are kind of, like, really big ones. And do people even go back and play Night Trap? Night Trap is essentially unplayable.
No, I think Night Trap is more of a meme game at this point.
Yeah. I think it's so funny that they re-released it, just because, like, if you haven't played Night Trap, it is so hard to play because the game is essentially watching the same videos over and over and over for hours and writing down timestamps of when things happen. And eventually you'll lose and you'll have to just start over and, like, use your previous timestamps. It's the biggest trial and error piece of garbage. But it's historically important. So,
and it's not to say that there aren't other, like, big franchises, because we have WWF games, we have Fatal Fury on here, Final Fight, Star Wars games. There's lots of big titles, Robo-Released, you know, Terminators. There's lots of big names on it. Monkey Island, like, big franchise names, but they're not. Those aren't the games you're going for. Like, there's usually better versions of those same games elsewhere, so they're not the thing that the system is known for as its signature. So if you're asking
NHL 94, best version of NHL 94, go get it.
Sure.
I bet it's cheaper than it ought to be.
Final Fight CD, that's English.
Yeah, I also think people like this version of Final Fight.
Yeah.
Damn, NHL 94 is like $20.
Go get
Man,
it.
this game is so good, and it's on Sega CD, which is an objectively cool console. Damn, you get a new copy of NHL 94 in this day and age for $100. Fuck yeah. No, it's not that great. But
all right,
man.
Let's talk about some on the edge games.
Oh, yes. Perfect.
Your favorite.
Collecting stuff.
Yep.
I guess we'll talk first about the 32X/Sega CD games. There were a very, very small amount of games that required or optionally let you use both the Sega 32X and the Sega CD, a cool add-on and an add-on that shouldn't exist. And boy, you had to be a Sega fan to own both.
Yeah, so weird.
Johnny, we've got...
weird that these...
It is weird that they exist. Corpse Killer, Fahrenheit, Night Trap, Slam City with Scottie Pippen, and Supreme Warrior. And to be clear, these are they're just discs. They're not cartridges.
Yes. And so all these are in like an orange cardboard box, except for one, Fahrenheit, which is in just a clamshell, but they like tried to do this hybrid like colorization where they like basically half of it becomes the 32X colors on the spine and then the rest is the Sega CD colors. Really, really bizarre. I don't know what was going on. I don't know why it breaks consistency with the other ones, which are already inconsistent from just the Sega CD cases. I wish they would have done everything that was just done on Fahrenheit. I wish that's the route they would have went, but they didn't. So we're stuck with this.
I will say Fahrenheit is weirdly common. Like, if that's one of those games, I'm going to go to the Sega CD section of the game store and be like, what? Fahrenheit? What the hell? It's like a firefighter FMV game. But I think the thing with Fahrenheit is it has the discs inside. There's both a Sega CD version and a 32X version inside the case.
Yep.
And that's not the case for all of these, right?
No.
The rest of them are purely Sega's. So, like, if you really want to slice Fahrenheit alone into the Sega CD list and cut the rest of them out, I think you're a crazy person. I think just throw all these in the list. I mean, come on, guys.
I agree. So let's talk about some other like weird on the edge case. We'll get into the other one later, but let's talk about the colors of modern rock, rock paintings and hot hits, XI karaoke CDs. These are actual CDs. What is XI? What? These are just these are so weird. All of these. These are like the bonus CDs that you would just get like, hey, try our stuff. Like when you bought something else because it was like a partner franchise. That's what these discs feel like. They don't feel intrinsic to the system itself. They're just like some bonus junk. The XI stuff is karaoke. I mean, there's like some karaoke stuff aspect that the Sega CD was trying to push. But yeah, these don't do anything for me.
I think so. There are arguments to be made because a lot of these are Sega CD format discs, which is like CD plus G. I think it's some weird format. But like you couldn't just put Colors of Modern Rock into your portable CD player.
No, you could not.
Actually, maybe you could because you could just like do that with Sega CD games. Like you could put Snatcher in your CD player and just play the Snatcher soundtrack.
That's true.
But it's got like Colors of Modern Rock. To be clear, it's a Sega CD disc. It boots up, you control it with your controller, and it just plays like 6 music videos or something like that.
And it's awful. And it comes in not a regular case. It comes in like a black, not a jewel case. It comes in like the style of jewel case, which has like a clip. Like if you remember the old cardboard DVD boxes where I have like this cardboard cover and like a plastic snap that went over it to keep it closed. That's what this thing is in. It's awful.
So, Colors of Modern Rock is kind of rare. Is that like a mail-away exclusive? Am I remembering that correctly?
I want to say yes, but I
don't.
Okay,
yeah, I remember that being one of the harder things to find for Sega CD, but also it's like so easy to just say like, that doesn't count. It's a music video CD, whatever. I don't even remember. I don't even know what to do with it at this point.
I mean, it's expensive too. That's like the other thing. It's kind of...
It's like $100, probably a little more than $100.
Oh, you know what? This doesn't actually have the cardboard clip. It's just a cardboard flippy one. I'm thinking of something else.
Okay.
Has that that's way better. Sorry. Just cut all that out. It's a cardboard flip case.
So Rock Paintings Hot Hits is pretty similar to Colors of Modern Rock. I think it's just an audio sampler thing. I don't remember if it has music videos on it. I don't think it has
CD plus G sampler, and it's got great music plus graphics. So it's CD plus graphics.
So there are a lot of lists that include both of these. And so this was just a pack-in with the original Sega CD?
You flip it over, yes. You flip it over, it's one on one side and the other on the other.
Yeah. And Colors of Modern Rock was a mail
its
away.
Own thing.
Like, I don't know. Like, they both, if you're going to include both or not, I feel like you have to either include both or not. I don't know what to do with them.
Man, well, let me just tell you that if you are interested in Little Feat representing the Mambo, it's here. Information Society, What's on Your Mind, Walking Away, hey, it's here. Jimi Hendrix, Fire and Manic Depression, come on. Fleetwood Mac, Chris Isaak, man, and those aren't even the hot hits. That's just the modern rock.
Is Information Society a popular band?
I think they were.
Okay. Because I'd never heard of them. I'm probably a little too young for Information Society. The only reason I've ever listened to Information Society is because of this CD.
So the other side, like, we don't have to cover these, but it's kind of funny. So like Dorama Rama is on here, Saigon Kick, The Escape Club, The Wolfgang Press, They Might Be Giants, Chub Rock, Throwing Muses. It's like weird 80s prog rock meeting alternative in here, which is exactly on brand for this era.
All right, Johnny, I want to talk about some XI discs because I don't think anyone
What
ever...
is XI?
So XI, it comes with 2 karaoke CDs. There's Top Hits Sampler and I don't remember. There's another one, whatever. They come in like the XI box. But the XI karaoke CDs are just CDs because I actually considered collecting all of the XI karaoke CDs at one point, and I couldn't even find like the first 2. So I'm like, you know what? This is a terrible idea. Let's not do this. Also, they're not even Sega CD format discs. They are just CDs. But the XI, it also comes with a What is XI disc, and I think that's a Sega CD format disc. So if you're including shit like Rock Paintings Hot Hits, why not include the pack-in What is XI? Or does none of this matter? And why are we talking about like an introduction disc that's a pack-in for something that's not even really a Sega CD? I don't know. I don't know what counts.
That's why we're on the edge.
I know.
On this.
This stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah, this is like a really weird one. Also, if you want, like, we always talk about things that are hard to search. If you have to search what is XI, you're going to find a bunch of things where people are explaining to you what the XI is, not this fucking CD. So
great.
Yeah. So it's also hard to find. It's obnoxious in many forms. So that's nice.
I will say the What is XI disc is a disc I actually want. I kind of don't have any interest in buying a complete in box XI, but I do want the disc. This is one of the longest save searches I've ever had, probably around 4 years before I gave up on it. I think I got like 1 or 2 hits, and both of them were complete in box XI consoles. So you will probably not find the What is XI disc if you're ever looking for one loose.
Yeah. So I was telling Tyler the times I saw it were also in a complete XI, and I only saw them in the red box version, not in the regular version, but I know other people have told me that they found it in both. So,
okay, yeah. To be clear, there's 2 XI variants. One comes in a blue box, one comes in a red box.
I mentioned that. Yeah.
Did we? All right, I don't remember mentioning.
I did.
That. All right, Johnny, what the fuck is electronic book decoder?
How do we keep bringing this up?
It's nothing. Know. I love bringing it up because no one talks about it. I mean, because it essentially doesn't exist. But it also seems like it's the ultimate set killer. So,
I mean,
which is it? Does it not exist, or is it the ultimate set killer?
It doesn't exist. I'm going to go doesn't exist.
Okay, so electronic book decoder for the JVC XI. We literally brought this up, I think, last episode. There's a picture of this thing. It's the English version of Wonder Library, which was it's a cartridge for the Japanese Wonder Mega that allows you to read ebooks. But there's a picture of an American one, and it's called Electronic Book Decoder, and it has a price tag on it. And not a regular price tag. It's like a garage sale price tag that says $200, and it's just like a scan picture of the front of the case, and there's no other information, period, about this thing as far as I know. There's one picture of it. And it's been on the internet forever. And no one fucking has it, Johnny. Where is it? Someone give it to me.
It is so old and weird that I forgot about it, that like even any mention of it, until Tyler mentioned it to me. And I was like, wait, what? And then he started talking about it and showed me the picture. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing, which I removed from my list because I gave up on this thing.
So the XI is such a weird and obscure thing. And so I don't know why this is specific to the XI and not the Genesis. Maybe it has something to do with like internal storage or something like that. I would guess it was probably canceled and never released, kind of a similar situation to RCA Studio 2 Bingo. And now there's some copies of RCA Studio 2 Bingo out there. I don't know where they came from, but there they are. And maybe the XI is even more obscure than an RCA Studio 2, and there's just that few copies of this thing that it basically doesn't exist, or like one guy has it, and it's more of an unreleased prototype deal. We've probably spent too much time talking about this for our entire lives because it's something that literally no one will ever have.
Yeah, probably.
But go look at the picture of it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is something. It is something else.
Something.
It is something. So another thing, much like the electronic book decoder, is Surgical Strike 32X CD. This was a game. Okay, so you're like, hey, Johnny, Surgical Strike is on the Sega CD. And you were right. But what they decided to do is say, hey, we're going to upgrade your copy of this to the 32X version to make an even more mediocre game, slightly less mediocre, but still be pretty mediocre. They were going to do this for you with an upgrade. When you bought the game, it says it like right on the manual, which if you know the Sega CD cases is displaying it to you right as you look at like Sega 32X upgrade. You're like, sweet. So you could mail in this reg card that's in there, and you were going to be sent in, like after a while, you would be sent a copy of this CD. And that never happened. So what did happen? So let me tell you, the people who did fill out the reg card, and it wasn't very many, and Surgical Strike didn't sell well anyways. This was just another one of the Strike games that was, supposed to be out there. I think there was supposed to be some triple pack of the Strike games too that I can't quite nail down. But this one was going to be like its own thing. Didn't happen. So guess what? They sent people copies of Wirehead. But back in 1996, they said 500 copies were sold in 1996. And this comes from the chairman of Tech Toys. And these were sold in Brazil. Tech Toys in Brazil is a very strong haven of Sega stuff. Like Sega did pretty well in America for the most part, like with the Genesis, not so well on the Sega CD. But for Master System, Tech Toys was like huge. Genesis was huge down there, and Sega CD was still medium. But anyways, the chairman there said they sold 500 copies. We never saw one until about 2008 when this first copy on digital press. There you go, Hyrule Verse.
Digipress for all of those normal people.
For normal people, yeah. So all you old men out there, Digipress. But it came out. This guy had it. He showed some copies in like 2008, but then he passed away, unfortunately, and the game was gone. Just lost to time until 2016 when it was later found again. But before that, in 2014, some box images would show up on basically a wiki site dedicated to Sega CD games and Tech Toy stuff. We see some more images. Some people, there was a Japanese guy who loaded a copy, but they thought that was a non-functional repro. And then in 2017, we got an actual repro because, as I said, in 2016, that guy, the first guy who ever found it, his copy was found. They released an ISO. A lot of people say it was a hoax, never released. Some people say this is real. I have no personal opinion on it, but that's the legacy of this thing. 2017, now repros of this and the box exist because good images were created. So if you're hoping to hunt down the really rare version and you're not in Brazil, already a tough ask, but now also there's repros of this thing that exists. So the odds of you finding one got lower. So good luck on all that. If you want just one, you can probably find a repro, even though those are still even pretty hard to find. So there you go. Surgical Strike 32X CD version.
Okay, so the guy who found it on Digipress, he found a Brazilian version, not like some weird American version.
Those all Brazilian.
Okay, yeah. So the Brazilian version alone is like outrageously rare. And so the guy who found it in 2016, I remember this specifically because I was tracking this, like, what the fuck is going on here? He really hyped up that he was relaunching Surgical Strike 32X CD. And he tried to make it look really official, like not official, but it wasn't like I'm making repros of this really rare, obscure game. He was like, coming soon, we're re-releasing Surgical Strike. He's literally just making bootleg copies of a game that he found. It's like, I found the game. I own the IP now. It was a situation like that. I remember there was some confusion when it originally came out if it was an official release. 1,000,000%, the 2017 version is not an official Sega CD release.
No. And there's only been 2 known copies, and both Brazilian have been found of this.
But if you're one of those weird people who says, like, I'm collecting the NTSC set, this is an NTSC Sega CD game, so good luck.
Yep. Womp, womp, womp. Yeah, just don't worry about this one, guys. But just, it has an interesting lore. There's some good videos on YouTube you can go look if you want to get into the history. I would recommend that rather than trying to collect this thing.
You know what? Galdius on our Discord, I better go get this. It's a tech toy release. He loves those tech toy releases.
Man, tech toy releases are awesome. There's so many awesome Genesis cardboard box releases. There's Mega Drive, or like Master System cardboard box games. Tech toy has some sweet stuff. But getting stuff out of Brazil to America, just forget it. It's so hard. Like for everybody who did, what an amazing journey you took. But that was, I didn't want to fight that constant uphill battle. So I never went that far.
All right, Johnny, should we move on to super cheap games that you should buy?
Sure.
Cool. All right. NHL 94. Guys, $20, Sega CD game in the big jewel case. Yeah, easy. Sonic CD, Johnny, I think is $60, so maybe not super cheap.
You can get the packing version for $25 if you really want to play.
Don't buy the pack-in version. Get the cool version. Sonic CD is such a cool game. I would have called Sonic CD probably in the top 3 Sonic games until Sonic Mania came out. And then kind of Sonic Mania does a lot of things I like about Sonic CD, but kind of better. Sonic CD has like these really huge labyrinthine levels with branching paths. Like it is such a game that you cannot just play through once. Like there's so much little things to discover in Sonic CD. But kind of the alternative is just go play Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania has some really cool fucking big levels too.
True.
And then Road Avenger, I would say, is my favorite Sega or my favorite FMV game because it's a game about driving an anime car. And most of these FMV games are just like the arrow appears and then you press it. But for some reason, when you're driving a car at low frame rates, pressing the controls with the arrow, it actually feels like you're driving the FMV car, which is not something a lot of the Sega CD FMV games actually do. So I like Road Avenger a lot. Hold on. Let me go double check that. I don't know if that's a cheap game, Johnny.
Okay.
Might have to scratch that recommendation.
I'm going to tell you some cheap games. If you're into the Echo series, they're pretty cheap. You can find both Echoes. That's Echo the Dolphin and Tides of Time are on here. Real easy. They're like $20, $30 games. Not bad. Weirdly, the pack-ins, like Soul Feast is a cool one to get. And Sega Arcade, the 5-in-1 pack-in, also like really cool games and pretty cheap that I would recommend for this system. Which is kind of sad that they're the packing games, but pretty cool. If you like Time Gal, this is on there. I know Tyler doesn't, but Time Gal can kind of get expensive now too.
Get the fuck out. Yeah, Road Avenger is like easily over $100. I don't know why I even
really
put it there. Yeah, I mean it's a cardboard box game that's always wrecked. So.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to throw this out there. Like, do we have? I forget if we still have this section where games that are actually like uncommon or hard to find.
Yeah, we had that.
Okay. I meant. Oh, we're still coming up to that. Okay, never mind.
Nope, we already went through it. It was basically just exactly what you would think it is. We talked about Red Box Wonder Dog. What do you got?
Oh, I just wanted to say Jaguar. I forget what is the full name. I want to
XJ220. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, XJ220. You got it. So that game is pretty hard to find, especially complete in box. I will throw a special shout out to all of the cardboard box games just because they're so easily trashed. If you can find it, finding nice cardboard box games sometimes isn't very expensive, but finding them nice is a feat into itself. Finding them at all can be tough, but keep an eye out, especially this is like where conditional rarity like matters, I think, in the cardboard box games.
Yeah. And so I didn't want to bring up something like that just because I feel like I agree, like Jaguar XJ220 is a hard to find Sega CD game. But I didn't know if it was just going to be like, oh, when I was looking for it, there was just none for sale. There are 0 complete in box copies on eBay, but I go into completed listings and there's like a couple that sold for like $40.
Yep.
So
not too expensive. That's why I wanted to bring that up.
Like, it seems like if you're looking for deals on Sega CD, just bide your time and wait for the weird stuff like this to show up.
Yeah,
why are you recommending these? Aren't we talking about? Oh, we're talking about games you should buy, not games you should play. Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, Jaguar is one of those ones where I wouldn't be too sensitive about the condition if you found the box, because I think it doesn't show up often enough.
Okay. Yeah, recommended games. Yeah. I think I already said my favorites.
You recommend Snatcher.
Everything else is expensive. Yeah, Snatcher and Popful Mail. What a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool games.
I'm going to tell you, and I've talked about this on a previous episode, The Adventures of Batman and Robin. The game is fine. It's not exactly what you would expect. It's not the same as the Batman games for animated series game on Super Nintendo or on the Genesis. It's its own thing, so it's a unique experience. But it also has an episode that you can't find of Batman the Animated Series. It was like unique to this thing that they fully animated and voiced. Pretty cool. So I like that aspect of it.
How much is that game?
I think it's like $100.
All right. I mean, that's expensive, but I just want to say, I bet Futurama on Xbox is more expensive than that right now. I'm looking it up.
Yeah.
And basically, the only claim to fame of stupid-ass Futurama is that it has a Futurama episode on it, right? And I don't know. They're both good shows. I would still give the edge to Batman the Animated Series over Futurama. And you're telling me unique episode in a much cooler game because it's a Sega CD game, and it's cheaper than Futurama on the Xbox.
Yeah, and for some of these, you can find for sub $100. I'm seeing like a $75 ones that have sold for like $60. I would even put that in the not too expensive when we're considering Sega CD games. Like if you can get a Sega CD game, especially one that's like kind of cool and unique, and it's a major title, like Batman and Robin isn't some unknown quantity. The animated series is a big deal. It's called not the animated series, it's called The Adventures of Batman and Robin. And it's got like a Rogues Gallery cover. You can't go wrong here. It's my recommendation.
What else we got, Johnny? Collector stuff?
Collector stuff. Yeah, let's get into these corner case nonsense and variants. Woo! Let's talk about Night Trap. Should we talk about at least 4 variants of Night Trap?
Sure.
So, hey.
Because, I mean, I imagine if you don't give a shit about Sega CD, Night Trap is probably in, like, your top 3 games that you might buy anyway.
Yeah, like, Night Trap is the game you've heard of.
So Night Trap, launch title, originally released in a cardboard red box, one of the awful cardboard red boxes, and it did not have a rating on it. And then after the congressional hearings, specifically about games like Night Trap and Lethal Enforcers, and I forgot the other one, it was something stupid, like everything that Joe Lieberman was going on about, they put a rating on the red box. So there are at least 2 versions of the red box, one with a rating, one without a rating. I don't remember which one's rarer. You can decide which one's cooler depending on whether you think it's cooler to have the original release or the one that they had to change after a congressional hearing. I think they're both cool to have, Johnny.
Yeah, I have both because I'm dumb.
Yeah, no, I do too. Definitely. Super cool. Then there's just a blue...
Awful.
Cardboard box Night Trap. So we didn't even talk about these. Oh, man, I think the Sega CD games look really good on the shelf.
Talk about the blue cardboard ones real quick.
Like, how many of these are there? There are some Sega CD games that didn't come in the blue jewel cases. They came in blue cardboard boxes, but there's only like 7 of them. Or there's like barely any of them.
Yeah, I want to say between 5 and 7 is correct.
It just feels like the cheaped out packaging version of Night Trap, which already came in a cardboard box.
It's actually better packaging.
Oh, yeah.
It's better packaging, but it feels worse somehow.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. How do collectors work? Like really like good thick cardboard, but yeah. So there's that, and then there's the Night Trap Sega CD 32X version, which comes in a yellow box. And then, Johnny, there's the limited run games versions.
Oh, how many limited run versions?
Let's talk about those later. I don't even know how many.
So many.
Because there were variants. You had to go to the pop-up store to get the CD 32X variant of the. Oh my god!
It's the memeiest game in history, and limited run loves it. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about my favorite variant, Lunar. Lunar, guys. You guys want to talk about Lunar?
I'm so sick of talking about Lunar disc variants. Who cares?
It's Lunar, the Silver Star.
No one wants to own 7 copies of the same game.
I own 7 copies of this game. So there's 7 copies. There's 7 different disc variants. 2 of them look very similar, by the way, but they are in fact different. There are 7. The foiling on the front cover and the back cover can be different, or the lack of foiling. So just know that. There's plenty of threads where you can go see all 7, and I'll post this document into our Discord for our patrons if they want to see. But yeah.
Wait, the earliest variant of Lunar is the one that doesn't have the foil lettering? So I have to go get a shitty version of Lunar now. Because I definitely have the foil one.
Yeah, the second variant is the fully foiled one.
Oh man.
And it comes with disc one.
Like the first Why did you number the discs like this? So the earliest variant only comes with disc 1. The second variant comes with discs 2, 4, and 6.
Yep.
Why doesn't it come with the discs 2, 3, and 4? Who numbered the discs, Johnny?
I didn't number the discs.
Are the discs actually numbered? I don't care. Don't buy 7 versions of Lunar.
Like when I came in,
like
when I came into the Sega CD scene and was like making this list, there was already lunatics because of working designs talking about like what the disc numbering on. So I leaned on their knowledge because they were the experts. The rarest version is the 7th disc, which is like a black disc, and it's got a guy standing off to the left, and it's got like a red band through the middle. And that's usually considered the rarest one. So that's what you can know about Lunar.
Also, what's Lunar cost now? Like $200?
Yeah.
So you're looking at like probably $2,000 to get all these discs, because I'm sure some of them are more expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
I don't know if anybody cares right now, but yeah, you're going to spend some money if you want all of them. All right, let's talk. Rise of the Dragon is a weird one because it came in a clamshell and a cardboard box. That's fun.
Cardboard
Wonder
box
Dog.
Rise of the Dragon? I used to think like Cardboard Box Rise of the Dragon was like a top tier cool thing on Sega CD, and I'm pretty sure it's like worthless. It's like no one cares.
Yeah, there's
one on eBay right now for $66.
There's a variant.
That's expensive, but Rise of the Dragon is like $40, so it's not that much more expensive.
Yeah, it's got the same like ratings variant on it that Night Trap has.
Yeah.
So
there's one without the rating of Rise of the Dragon in the cardboard box.
Yep.
Are you sure the rating's not just a sticker and it fell off?
Well, there's some debate about that, but yeah, we're pretty sure.
Okay. All right.
Pretty sure. Like, not 100%, pretty sure.
All right. Yeah, there's 2 on eBay and 1 in Solds. I'm going to say, man, that's not super common. Go get your Cardboard Box Rise of the Dragon, guys. It's a cool game.
If you're going to buy one, buy that one.
Rise of the Dragon, another game that I played, and I'm like, oh, is this kind of like Snatcher? And it's an adventure game with dead ends. Snatcher does not have any dead ends, but like Rise of the Dragon, you could like lose items that you need to progress in the game, and it's like, oh, got to restart the whole game over. I'm not about that life, Jim.
Fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It might be a fine game. I just have no patience for running around an adventure game where I have already lost, but the game won't tell me. I hate that so much.
It's pretty dumb. Let's talk about something else. There's also just some more variants. Okay, so there's like 4 different versions of Sewer Shark that you can get, and they depends like on the not for resale, like where logos and stuff. It's not very exciting, and there's like the not for resale versus the resale version. Compton's has the same thing. There's like 3 different colors: red, blue, blue is the most common, red is the second most common, and then black is the least common version. And then there is and those are not for resale, all of those. And then those come in a little cardboard sleeve. And then the regular version also has black text on it, but it's different than the cardboard sleeve black text version. And and like we told you, Prize Fighter, there's some pack-ins and stuff that are also not for resale. So they've got some weird variants, but not a ton of huge variants for this system. I mean, Lunar is the one, but you know, you're not seeing like movie ticket variants and like this kind of stuff because this was the olden days.
Yeah, and there's not many games, and it didn't last that long.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the next part. Woo!
Johnny, were special editions a thing?
Nope.
I can't think of a single one. I can't even think of anything.
I can. Well, Earthworm Jim.
Shut up.
Fatal Fury.
I mean, I guess there's like the limited run games crap that's coming out, but I can't think of any. There's nothing like competition. There's no like weird secret prize mail away. Like the closest thing to an exciting release on Sega CD, I legitimately think is like the Colors of Modern Rock, which is not an exciting release.
No, super sad. There's none of this like. There's none of this weird. There's no Daytona Netlink on this system. You know, Sega CD is nice because it's pretty meat and potatoes. You can just go and get it.
Am I misremembering? This might be a UK thing. Was there a demo of KO Flying Squadron in the UK where it actually had the full game on it? Am I misremembering this?
I don't know if you're misremembering that. I don't know.
I think it was a magazine demo, and they accidentally put the full game on it, which is the funniest thing.
That would be hilarious. How much are those now, I wonder?
Oh, I bet they're so expensive.
I bet they're not.
Okay, yes. So, Sega Pro CD magazine, December 1994 issue, came with a demo of KO Flying Squadron, which is only the first stage, but you can use the cheat codes to access the rest of the game, but with stage select.
That's awesome.
That's so funny.
That's awesome that all the data was just sitting there.
Yeah. Oh, so dumb.
Okay.
Anyway, I bet that's rare and exciting, but it's also British, so I don't care, Johnny.
Yep. I mean, it would be a cool thing to have in the collection. Like, oh
sure.
That's a fun thing. Anyways, so special editions, as we're thinking about them in the modern age, were not a thing. There were some named ones, but not really. Let's talk about aftermarket homebrew and everything like that. Hey, what's going on there? Anything?
Good Deal Games, Johnny. What's that?
I fucking hate them. I hate them so much. I can't tell you because... So go ahead. Tell people what Good Deal Games is.
I don't know what Good Deal Games is, but I've bought stuff from them.
They're a repro site.
They're like
homebrew,
so
repro?
Like 90% is just bootlegs or repros, but also I think they have like some legitimate homebrew, and I can't really tell.
But they like rip off other people's releases too. So like if you want to get like Legend of Wukong or Beggar Prince or something, they will sell it to you. But okay, so they had back in the olden days, they had like full console list. Like, hey, here's what's in a Sega CD set, and they had all these games that they sold in there. So people thought like Bug 2 and stuff like were games. So they had like 12 games that I had to like super convince people didn't actually exist, that they were just Good Deal games, and like we had to prove to people that they weren't real, and then like had to prove to ourselves, like, I mean, these don't really exist, right? Because they'll sell any bootleg. So we have to like make sure they're not just out there somewhere. So I don't know if some of them were planned games that were canceled or whatever, but they just had this whole plethora of Sega CD games that existed on a list there, and just polluted list because even the early internet, people were copying, and those games just made it everywhere. So it just, I have bad feelings about them because of that.
Yeah. So I mean, you could collect Good Deal Games releases. There were, I think some of them were like canceled games that they packaged up. I mean, I don't consider this stuff super collectible. Like some of this looks like homebrew. Like Mighty Mighty Missile it's basically a Choo Choo Rocket ripoff. That just looks like someone made a homebrew Sega CD game and distributed it through Good Deal Games. I hate the fact that because some of it is bootleg stuff and some of it might be legitimate, that you kind of have to make a judgment call game by game, and I just don't like doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, they've been around since literally the 90s. Their website is probably the original website from the 90s.
Oh my god, it's so awful. It's their
website. Like some of the quotes on their website: "If you prefer Frogger to Doom, if you think ColecoVision had it all compared to the PS2, like it is so boomer old man garbage."
No, here's my favorite. So on the top, they've got like these tabs, right? And one of the tabs is chat room. Hey, welcome to our IRC. I'm sorry, you're what now?
Oh yeah, the classic video game IRC.
Yeah.
I also like if you scroll down their homepage, there is more than one full screen of online casino ads.
Oh, so good.
Like banner ads for online.
Wow.
What a weird thing that Good Deal Games exists.
Man, this casino ad is something to see. Yeah, wow. Crazy. It's just, yeah, go look at it. Like, then there's like some book that they're trying to sell, bizarre games. Man.
I think like this book looks new-ish.
Yeah, like
not new-ish, but like for Good Deal Games, I'm saying. When did this book come out? Yeah, like 2016?
Yeah, they've been serving the retro community since 1998. In 1998, nothing was retro.
No, that's when the real retro games, when people are talking about like 70s garbage.
Anyways.
Well, anyway, that's that. I would say don't buy Good Deal Games. There was like a alternate universe Tyler like a very long time ago where I'm like, I'm gonna get all the Good Deal Games releases.
I'm telling you, there was people
I have since been I no longer like bootlegs in any sense.
Bug Blaster, BattleTech, Battle Frenzy, you are probably all over these.
I'm pretty sure I have a Battle Frenzy. I don't even know what it is. I'm just like, because I want it to be the guy. I want it to be like, oh, I have every Sega CD game, including these dumbass, like, bootleg Good Deal Games things. But
see, that mentality is exactly what made Sega CD cool, because you could go get everything. You could go as hard as you wanted.
Yeah.
It was so good. That's what makes Sega CD fun. But there's also, in the new series, there's like limited run games. They've re-released Night Trap a million times. Star Wars Rebel Assault, Monkey Ball Island, Ground Zero Texas. Hey guys, if you want to spend
Monkey Ball Island.
Or Monkey Ball Island, The Secrets of Monkey Island. Jesus Christ, what a disservice I just did to that game. I apologize. So here's the fun one though. Ground Zero Texas. Imagine paying $40 for Ground Zero Texas from limited run games when you could just buy an original copy of Ground Zero Texas for $40 on the Sega CD.
I don't get it, Johnny. I don't really know what goes on over at limited run games sometimes.
Was this like a package deal? They had to do this one. They're just like, sure, we'll throw it out there.
It seems like they got LucasArts games, but this was a Sony ImageSoft game. Like, this is in the same vein as like Wirehead, I'm pretty sure. So why do they have the rights to, I don't get it.
I don't know.
Is it somehow, does LucasArts have the rights to Ground Zero Texas for something where it was, I don't know. How do rights work?
Well, rights can be complicated, so who knows? So there's like some other games that were canceled that were produced. Like, I think the Penn and Teller game was made, Johnny Mnemonic.
Whoa, wait, hold on. What do you mean it was made by just like some guy? Because you could just burn Sega CD discs?
Yeah.
Something we didn't mention, there's no copy protection. You could literally just burn a Sega CD disc.
True.
Guys.
Yeah. So there was these games that like people found code for, Smurfs, Johnny Mnemonic, and Penn and Teller. And I think they like burned those onto disc and people had them. And like John Hancock did a couple of these, and like I think he had maybe his own game too. Like, they're out there. I'm not highly recommending any of this stuff. I bought Smurfs because I love Smurfs. But, totally non-essential item here.
I think Penn and Teller is more than worth checking out. It's unreleased,
neat,
but it's pretty much complete. It's essentially a joke. It's so unique. Like, I'm so sad that it doesn't exist because I think it would be the coolest thing.
It would be pretty cool if it exists. It was like the epitome of what the Sega CD could do, and it sadly never got.
It really is, yeah. It's a series of jokes and pranks that you play on people. So, it ostensibly looks like 5 Penn and Teller minigames, and they all come with an intro and stuff. But if you read the manual, it's all like how to trick your friends with like magic tricks and stuff. Because like it'll like one of the games is like a mind reading game of some kind, and if you have the right controller inputs, it looks like you're reading your friend's mind or the game is reading your friend's mind. I don't remember what happens, but it's like there's things like that. I know there's a shooter. You actually the box art was supposed to be reversible, and the entire reverse side of the box art and the manual makes it look like an entirely different game, some kind of shooter. And I don't remember. There's a way to launch the game, and it launches straight into the shooter. And the whole gimmick of the shooter was that it would be super easy for you, and the game would just constantly kill player 2. So it's just like it's just a complete prank. You can play on your friends like, you suck at this game, why are you so bad? When the whole joke of the game is that it just kills your friend. Anyway, I just think it was a super cool idea.
Like, what a cool, unique idea that was. I'm so sad it's not real.
And but like, it's full of like unique Penn and Teller conversations, and like if you like them, you can't get enough of them. So like you have to consume all their garbage. So definitely go download that if you.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out Fool Us, that's like a fun show to watch, like little bits of here and there.
I love Fool Us, Johnny. I pretty much anytime they say you fooled us, I feel like they're basically just giving it to them because they can't not let anyone win the show.
True.
Like, I feel like if they sat down and gave a list of someone like, here's all the ways we think you could have done it, you probably did it one of these ways, like, then just no one would ever win. Because, like, obviously they know all the methods of doing magic. They've been doing this shit for so long.
Like, they've been doing it long enough to have had a Sega CD game that didn't make it, okay?
Like, in, like, 1993 or something.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how big Penn and Teller, like, yeah.
Also,
but it's still a good show. They create good stories on Fool Us. I enjoy it. Like the narrative.
I do love Fool Us. I mean, I love magic in general. It's such a nerdy thing to love. I don't like in Fool Us. There was some kind of close-up coin guy, and I saw another video of his trick, and like clearly in the other video was like legit, and you could see like, okay, there's like some gimmick to the table he's using, and on Fool Us they edited it to make it look like there wasn't a gimmick in the table. Like there's clearly camera tricks going on because they wanted the magician to look better on the show, and I don't like that. Like, come on, if the whole reason is that like, oh, can the audience spot the secret, and you're going to use camera tricks to cover up the secret, like, fuck you, editors. Come on. Okay. If they can't fool me, they can't fool me.
That's right. I also love that they have just like reoccurring character people that come on that are just good magicians. And they usually never say that they fooled us, but they like show you a pretty cool trick.
Yeah.
That's a weird aside into that, but yeah, Penn and Teller, pretty fun.
Also, if you go and look at Vegas shows, there's like 3 magician shows that were on Fool Us. It's crazy.
Yeah,
like Shinlim is there, the Dragon guy is there, and there's like another guy who's there.
Yeah, it's definitely a launching platform for magicians right now.
Anyway, that's our magic talk.
Yeah.
Me and Johnny, big fans of magic and Penn and Teller.
Yeah, if you want to know what an After Dark episode sounds like, that was pretty much a mini one right there.
Man, have you seen Penn and Teller live, Johnny? Oh my God.
I have not. I was supposed to, and we got canceled out of it.
Johnny, go see it. God damn it.
Maybe next time.
All right.
Anyways, let's talk about accessories. Were there accessories and stuff for this? No, it was magazines. It was like the same basic Sega magazine.
JVC controllers.
Yeah. I mean, there's
it is an accessory.
Yeah, there are tchotchkes and stuff. There was like Sega bags, but it was just general Sega paraphernalia at the time. Sometimes they slapped Sega CD and like welcome to the next level on it and stuff, but nah, not really. It's not like really a big thing with it.
Uncommon games that aren't expensive yet, I think, is going to change month by month.
Yeah.
I mean, I love searching for this stuff. When I'm going for a set, I just look at, like, just chop off, like, the top 10% of the most expensive games and chop off the bottom, like, 40% of the cheapest games, and then just keep hammering eBay looking for what's not available, and you'll have a pretty good idea of, like, oh, shit, this is the game I need to get before, like, there's a really big drought on it.
Yeah, like Jaguar that we're talking about, that's, like, a perfect example. I would say that's actually rare, but... you're going to find it for uncommon pricing.
Yep. Like, I remember when I was buying Sega CD games, there was like a huge drought on Wild Woody. Did I already say that?
No, I don't think.
Wild Woody, Johnny. There's
Cadillacs and Dinosaurs was a game that like I didn't find for a while.
Mini set on Sega CD, Johnny. Set of games with boobs. Wild Woody has boobs, and Panic has boobs. Are there other games on the Sega CD that have boobs?
I don't know.
Cartoon boobs in both cases, to be clear. Maybe not a very mature set to collect, but people do like the nudity. You usually get a big bump for video games when they have nudity
That's true.
in price.
What Night Trap has got to be on there, right?
No, there's literally no objectionable content in Night Trap. I don't understand it. That's another thing. Like we need to make clear, just because this is an overview. Night Trap is a controversial game because United States senators are fucking dumbasses. If anyone has ever played Night Trap, there is no like violence against women. It is closer to slapstick stupid humor than that.
Yeah. Some of the scenes I get, like some of the ideas, I guess could be objectionable, but the way it's presented is so stupid.
Yeah,
that's
it.
It's also too stupid to play.
The idea of attacking a house full of girls is the objectionable thing, but the way it's presented is like, secret agent, you must be monitoring this because the Power Rangers putties are coming into the house, and you need to use the zany traps to make the stairs turn into a ramp. Like, come on. Congress considered this. Congress! I mean, I know, like, they vote on bills without reading the bill and all that, but you couldn't watch, like, you literally could not make a minute clip of Night Trap that makes it look like an objectionable
No,
game.
but they were protecting the children for all them American moms out there. And that sounded good. It made for a good soundbite, and that's all they care about.
This game came out in, 1992? Did I miss, like, the 80s and all the horror movies that came out in the 80s that are, like, the goriest, like, most ridiculous things that have ever been created?
But it's always whatever.
Love them.
Tyler, it's always whatever's ruining the children. It was that rock and roll music, then it was them movies, and then they could move on to video games. It's just whatever. They just regurgitate the same idea onto the next platform to get votes, to appeal to that demographic who's always going to be outraged by that thing. It doesn't matter what that thing is applied to. The idea of whatever is hurting the children is the idea.
If you're not jaded by your party's politicians yet, it's time for you to get jaded and realize that all politicians are just bullshitting.
Yeah. Well, I usually don't like to get into politics, Tyler, as you know, but yeah, politics are stupid. Politicians are dumb. And our whole system is ridiculous. And if you can look at it and then not like shake your head, I don't understand. So anyways, let's move on quickly before I burst out screaming.
Things you should watch out for, Johnny. Things
like
repros or that good old PAL Stadium events that you might actually accidentally spend 30 grand on.
Yeah, whoops.
Which is not a thing that happened. I'm just saying.
I would say one of the things to look out for is repros in the sense that you can just burn these CDs like pretty easily, but usually you don't have the same styling of like that old school print that made these discs, so they should be pretty easy to tell apart, but just be
there are repros
careful.
To be clear though.
Yeah.
I've seen people, I don't know if they're like LightScribe discs or something, but yeah, people have made not convincing but attempted to pass off fake Sega CD games. Yes,
absolutely. So you should look, and there was for a while there was like some good cases because people started making repro cases. Which, Tyler, you want to tell us about these things, because that's like really the biggest thing I think that you should look out for in the system.
Not repro cases, like the actual jewel cases we're talking about. And so there's two major ones. So there was like people know the guy who did this, but there was a guy who wanted to make basic reproduction Sega CD cases, which are also Sega Saturn cases, some PlayStation cases. It's like one big stupid case.
I mean, unless you get into the actual measurements of like what hole sizes and things, that these aren't all the same case, but they generally do all the same thing.
Yeah. And so this was like just some guy, and I'm pretty sure he went through a pretty big investment. He had to like have a minimum order quantity, had to get all the tooling done. And he literally did this at the same time that Limited Run Games was doing the same thing, which is so funny. So this guy had his first run of cases, and like they're so cheap. It was like $30 on Prime for like 12 jewel cases, which like your alternative is like buying a mint $30 Sega CD game, and now you can get brand new ones for like $3 or $4 each. I don't know if they still exist, but that's what they were priced at, and they were really bad. I forgot.
They fell. The inner black tray fell out.
I didn't buy them. I only have the Limited Run Games ones.
I got one from a friend just to test it, to see how.
Okay.
So I can look at it.
Yes. So the black tray, I think, is missing the the compact disc logo, and the tray like falls out. That was the problem with the first run. So we had to like go back and change the tooling to fix it up for a second run. And I don't remember what happened with that. Is that still on Amazon? I don't know.
Yeah,
those
so
are
you can
those
still
are two sets of. Let's go ahead.
You can still buy them. There are replacement game cases. There's a 10 packet. It's still the second run, and it's $60, which if you really needed Saturn cases, like, is not the worst price.
So, like, I think that price is killer. If like I was a person who was going to use these cases, like, and be happy with them, like that, I would be totally happy. That's so much cheaper than buying new games. The problem is, and I'll just say that the third one is Limited Run Games made their own tooling as well, and they have Sega CD releases, and sometimes they put them on like other just random things.
Hey, and I'm just gonna say real quick plug for our buddy Game Rave TV. He did a review of these, so go check out his YouTube, or he did a review on the Amazon, at least. I'm sure it's probably on his website where he compares these and looks at them. So go check out his.
Yeah, you should be subscribed to Game Rave already. What are you guys doing? Yeah. If you hold a Limited Run Games Sega CD case and a real Sega CD case in your hands, like I was worried that I would have to like find some minute difference to pick them apart, but like it is immediately clear, like different plastics, different fit and finish, like they do not feel anything alike. So the biggest threat is that someone has already replaced like that Popful Mail is actually in like a Limited Run Games case just to make it look like it's super mint. But if you have like 10 Sega CD games to compare, like I think you would easily be able to pick out any repros you have. At least that was my experience.
Yeah. So my concern with these is I don't think grading companies care about this. So I don't know if they're looking for that and mentioning it. And that's where I worry. Like on higher graded stuff, I'm like, until proven otherwise, because you're not going to be able to see the inside differences, which are going to be the most important, and you're not going to be able to touch it. So I'm going to be worried about that kind of stuff.
I agree. Also, don't grade or buy graded jewel case games complete in box. I hate jewel case. I could talk all day about jewel cases and how I hate them so much. Just because if you go like a jewel case is not just a jewel case. Like that is not if you're on that level, like we need to have a serious talk about the different weights of plastic, the different types of plastic, because you cannot go and buy a pack of 20 jewel cases on Amazon and start replacing your PlayStation games.
Why not?
You could, but the jewel cases you buy on Amazon, go weigh them. They probably weigh nearly half of what your PlayStation game jewel cases weigh. And there isn't
they don't have the same
exactly
scoring
identical
on the side and stuff. Like it's much different.
Yeah, when you get into like things like logos and stuff, like forget about it. Like you could potentially find something that has all the logos that match up, all the style that matches up. But modern manufactured jewel cases just have less plastic in them, so they are cheaper quality jewel cases. So when it comes down to replacing jewel cases, I don't think there is a really good, legitimate way to do it. I mean, it's fine if you do that and you're just like, I don't want cracked bullshit in my collection. Like, yeah, I don't want cracked bullshit either. I go much more down the route of buy some new old stock NSYNC CDs from the 90s, which will be high quality jewel cases manufactured by Sony. They're perfect replacements for your PlayStation.
Absolutely. So that's kind of what I was going to say.
CD, but
but
regular jewel cases, just go buy some new old stock garbage from the 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, make sure the manufacturers match up. Like, make sure it's Sony branded.
Sony makes so much music that there's so much you could buy.
It's super easy. Make sure you get it from the 90s.
Yep.
And let's see, anything else you want to talk about in that? I think that's good for that. Hey, let's talk about what's the current outlook for the system and how do we play it now? Is there a mini for this? eShops, ROMs, Retrons? Like what's going on here?
No one plays it. We're good. If like the game that everybody knows about and is from a company that is willing to milk everything Hideo Kojima has made for all it's worth, if Snatcher is not getting re-released, no one cares about anything on the Sega CD.
So
there is no outlook. The outlook is you boot it up in Kega Fusion, I guess, which is probably the best emulator for it. Still.
No, I mean, well, maybe, but you can also play it on the Polymega. Like natively.
Oh, okay, yes, Polymega, and you don't even need a fancy thing, right? Because it's a CD thing. So
CD,
it
just works. Just put it in there. You can download it into your system. I can attest to this. I've done it. Plays just fine.
Great.
Tyler's seen video of it. It's good.
I trust Game Rave TV on YouTube for all my Polymega content.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is 100% dedicated to like feeling out the nooks and crannies, tried to mod the controller. Like, go check out Game Rave. Like, seriously, what are you doing? Go look at Game Rave.
I think the fate of modern Sega CD is in the hands of whatever one guy at Limited Run Games is like, hey, we should release some Sega CD games. Because yes, they've wanted to release Night Trap as a meme, and they finally released an actual Sega CD version of Night Trap, and they got more stuff. If those are selling well enough and they wanted to take it further and do something like release an unreleased game or release something new for the Sega CD, probably the future of Sega CD is in Limited Run Games' hands, because who the fuck else's hands is it in? Not Good Deal Games, I could tell you that.
No idea.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's probably just dead. Don't worry about it. Sega CD is fine as it is.
There's not a super lot out there. If you've got a Polymega, you know what the cool games are. Go get your Snatcher and your Sonic CD, and maybe a couple other ones that feel good to you. And I think you're going to be good.
Yeah. I pretty much agree.
All right, so that's pretty much it on the Sega CD. There was a bunch of canceled games too for this, and there's like a weird demo. There's like a Dragon Slayer demo that popped up. We talked about Penn and Teller. Brain Dead 13 was supposed to be on. Darkseid 2, which are like H.R. Geiger stuff. Discworld, Aladdin, Dragon's Lore, Grandia, which is an RPG. Indiana Jones, how cool would have that been? Last Action Hero, Monkey Island 2, that would have been sweet. Myst, come on, Myst was going to be on this. Super Star Wars was going to be on there.
If I saw Myst on Sega Saturn, I'm like, oh, great, it's Myst on Sega Saturn.
I know. But like, I just like seeing Myst on things. Super Star Wars is the one that was like, for me, like, oh man, they were going to make Super Star Wars on this? Would that have been cool? Would we have got FMV? That would have been sweet. And then Total Carnage on here. The weirdest one, though, is Ultra Core. And that's weird only because it finally showed up. It showed up on the Genesis and on the Switch. It was a game that was released, but it was originally planned for the Sega CD. You can go play it now. You can even get it, I think, on the eShop on Nintendo Switch. You can play some Ultra Core.
I think 98% of these are just stupid ports. I don't know if Heimdall 2 exists anywhere. It does. It's an Amiga game. So Penn and Teller Smoke and Mirrors is really the only thing we lost here.
I'm just thinking about all the sweet FMV. Ultra Core wasn't released on any other system until now.
Okay. See, like that FMV stuff, like that is like where you could see like Limited Run Games. They like go track down the guy who owns the rights to some weird FMV version of Super Star Wars. Like if they release like that, if that exists somewhere, like that would be
I'm in.
The coolest fucking shit.
Well, and like if they did just Darkseid and Darkseid 2 just for the Geiger stuff, I would be in on that. Like even Discworld, like
yeah, are you kidding me? Unreleased Sega CD games getting an official release, I am so in on that.
In immediately.
Yeah, as long as it's not a bootleg Good Deal Games thing.
Yeah. So what about Surgical Strike 32X Sega CD version? Are you in on that?
If it's like a licensed official thing, yeah, because I just want to keep my set complete.
Yep. All right. Anyway, so that's it for Sega CD, and now we can move on to the next part of the show. Tyler, do we want to answer any questions today?
We sure do, Johnny.
All right.
People are asking, what do you think about that What a Pop report?
Oh no. Do we have to do a whole episode on that, or can we just?
No, we absolutely don't. I just didn't want people to think that we forgot about it. Okay. I'm just not very interested in it, so I didn't even bring it up.
Okay.
Also, this is going to be released in like a week, so no one's going to care anymore.
Yeah, the pop report happened, and there was some surprises, I guess, and then a lot of not surprises because, like, we already know the stuff that's mainly getting graded. So the fact that all these other systems have like low grades, it's like, well, because the bulk of the grades are going at Nintendo.
Yeah. Like how many people are grading Game Boy Advance games? There's like fucking 1,500 or 2,000 Game Boy Advance games, however many there are. Like, there's not a big enough sample size of people who care about that many games. It's just there's not enough information to really care. And guess what? Guess what the most graded Game Boy Advance games are? It's like 6 different Pokemon games. Like, whoa, great.
Shocker. The Pokemon games got graded?
It's crazy, yeah. Would you believe it? People are grading a lot of Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation, Johnny.
Weird.
Wow, lots to read into there.
Can you tell me if there was any Little League baseballs for the GBA graded?
Are there? Is that like a super rare game?
Yeah, it's kind of rare. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm gonna go check for you.
Oh, you're gonna go check? All right. Sweet.
Little League. There are 0 graded.
Oh.
There are 2 Disney's Little Mermaid, Magic and Two Kingdoms graded though.
Oh, that's fun. What about Sega Rally?
Oh, what for the
GBA?
GBA? Yeah, Johnny, there's no graded. I think someone has a sealed one of those though, right? That's a super rare game, but I'm pretty sure
it's not actually super rare.
Sealed.
It's not super rare. It's available. My point was like you could also check Ultimate Beach Soccer. And just saying like if the rarest if the hardcore on GBA aren't in here, then it's just the spec crowd, the big name Pokemon. Like I'm sure we'll see some like the Mario Advance games getting graded soon. Like that's the kind of stuff we'll see graded.
All right, to be clear, there's only 417 games graded, so in GBA, so you could find a ton of things that aren't graded.
Yeah, and I bet they're mostly Pokemon, and then the rest are like some Mario, maybe a couple Sonics.
Okay, and it's like the GBA, like the NES games, like Legend of Zelda Classic NES series is one of the most graded games. What a surprise. The most graded GBA game, Johnny, what do you think it is?
I'm going to say Emerald.
Not a landslide. Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards.
Oh, wow. Why?
Followed by 6 Pokemon games in a row.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to take out of here, Johnny.
I mean, I think because that Yu-Gi-Oh one was one that they could buy pack fresh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's clearly some games that are at the top of list just because it's like, well, that's the one that's available. I bet like there's a decent amount of Subterranea on Genesis. Yeah, there's 20 of them graded. Actually, Genesis is pretty weird because I think Sega Genesis games in general are kind of rare. So the ones at the top are like super case pack games. Like Sonic, the most graded game is Sonic 2 with 130, and the next most graded is 78, and then the next most is 57. So it's just like everyone sent in Sonic 2s because that's all they got.
Yeah, nothing shocking. So the Pop Report, I will say this: it's nice that more of the Pop Report is coming up. Like that's cool. Like I am for information in the collector's hands, as much as I don't think Pop Reports are like, I don't think it's going to have the effect that people want because like right now there's so little information. There's not enough all of this grades. So people could be like, oh, only one in the Pop Report. Ooh, like just shut up. Like, of course there's only like one or none in the Pop Report. Get out of here with that.
I mean, I definitely see a lot of that. Like, here it is, guys. It's the Pop 1 GBA game no one's ever heard of. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't think there's enough information. Get the Greg Games, I'm sure, is going to do a 3-hour video on all of this, and all the people who actually care will just go watch that instead.
Yeah, just join that Patreon.
What do we have to say about this?
Nothing. We have nothing.
If Nintendo had been a British company, would we all be collecting... would we all be? I can already tell this question is off base. Would we all be collecting the original UK releases for Famicom and Super Famicom instead of turning down our noses at them? Parentheses, except Tyler.
I mean, that's like such a big, weird what if, because the space in which that would have to have existed, like that, then we have to revise all video game history, because then somewhere in Europe becomes the center of video games instead of Japan.
It does kind of require like an entire alternate timeline. It's not like a one company change. It's like the entire history of video games has to change for this to happen.
Yeah. So I think, in that sense, like we would be like, oh, like these are the original first, like, but like still everything's still so American centric. Yeah. People are getting more into foreign stuff and like original prints. There's more Tylers than there was a year ago. Unfortunately for Tyler.
I popped out like 2 years ago. So
yeah,
3 years ago.
Before COVID.
Man, yeah, it was because it was the Super Mario that really kicked it off. So I guess 3 years ago now.
Yeah,
I became a new Tyler popped out.
Yeah, but there's more of you now than there used to be.
Sure. Yeah.
So, like, but still, everything's pretty US centric. And collecting and other hobbies is still shown to be like pretty US centric, even when there's other options available. So I don't think so. I think we'd just be in whatever the boat is we're in now is the same boat we would be in.
Yeah, and I think I'm accepted from this question because yes, I would obviously go after the British versions. Then it would be a much more interesting conundrum though if they were all like 50 hertz versions. Like, would the US versions have messed up music, or would something be messed up about those versions? Like would those run at only 50 hertz, and then our version of Castlevania runs at 60 hertz? Because if that's the case, then then I'm in a situation where I feel like I have to own both, because there's a contemporaneous original version with the best version, and then it's well, it's fucking Castlevania, so I gotta own both of those, and then I'm gonna do that for Mario, I'm gonna do that for Metroid, I'm gonna do that for The Adventures of Lolo 3,
And I know the question was specifically British, but imagine that Nintendo, if you're a British company, Europe is a much more tighter knit, America is so large and it's one big country, but Europe has to be more connected. So they wouldn't just be releasing English versions of games. They would have to we would still have all of the pitfalls of PAL releases, but just maybe in a greater thrust. So we would have this kind of problem. And yeah, I don't know. Europe causes some different issues. And I think more people would be kind of accepting of these versions because you would get a lot more English versions of games. So you could be well, I can play it. And I think maybe the propensity to be look at this, it's got English on it, so it's good, because that does happen in within the PAL community. Not to say that English is better, but the universality of the language amongst many European countries means that games that have English and may not have the home country's language get a preference. So British ones, and then, I'm going to mess it up. I want to say the Netherlands releases that also have English on there, those usually go for a premium because of that, because not every language in Europe is represented and so many of the countries speak English. So there would be some weird other issues, and you might get some of that, but I think you might have more cross collecting than we do now, but I still think just the universality of the English language and still being the hub of collecting would push through.
All right. I think it's safe to say we're happy that Nintendo is not a British company, so we don't have these problems. Johnny, got another question from Clearvis, unless we want to go. Tiger Wolf asks, who's your favorite new kid? I am too young to even know who the new kids on the block are.
Oh, you could look it up.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to have a favorite one. As far as I know, I probably have heard, I don't know a single New Kids on the Block song.
Have you heard the Weird Al parodies?
I'm sure I have.
The White Stuff, which is the parody of the Right Stuff.
Great. I don't know their names. I don't know their personalities, and I don't know who's the cutest one.
So
who's the cutest one?
I don't know. I want to say Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah, we'll go with Donnie Wahlberg. There's a Wahlberg there, right? I think Jordan was the big one. I don't know.
I said you can go to. They got a 2022 concert tour. Boy, it's weird seeing old man boy bands. Clearvis says, "What game were you most excited about that was a huge disappointment when you finally got it, either from a collecting or gameplay perspective?"
Let's see. Early on, people always say Zelda 2 and stuff like that, but I always liked those. I always liked the second games, even Mario 2, Zelda 2.
Were there people at the time? So I wasn't alive. Were there people at the time who didn't like Zelda 2?
I think so. Or it was a departure, so they didn't like it as much. I'm trying to think of something that was super disappointing for me that I played and was just oh.
I can't imagine getting a new fucking Zelda game and being oh, it's a little bit different. Oh, this new Zelda game sucks. I hate having a new Zelda game. The only time I was ever like that in my entire life was when Skyward Sword came out, because it did suck. But Zelda 2 doesn't suck.
Let's say Skyward Sword. Yeah, I'm going to go with you on Skyward Sword. What a disappointment Skyward Sword was. What a good answer.
Yeah, I'm like contender for the most disappointing game of all time, I think. For me personally, because I've never seen like, I think there are things you could say are like, oh, this is maybe a bad Zelda game, but they aren't a bad video game. And I think Skyward Sword is in many ways a bad video game.
I mean, the tutorial section is so rough.
Yeah, it's like 50 hours long, and then the credits roll is crazy.
Yeah. Castlevania 64 was also really bad. And that was like a huge disappointment because I was so excited to be in 3D in Castlevania. And it was just not, wasn't it? It wasn't it. Collecting wise, I've said it before, but that Baldur's Gate special edition, I was so excited that I was getting like all like the computer games and like a cool special edition, and just to get like tchotchkes on the side. So stupid and lame. Ugh.
This was a Switch release or it was a computer release? Just
Switch.
Remind the audience.
Switch. It was a Switch release, and this company had like all of that. It was like Neverwinter Nights, or not Neverwinter Nights. What it was, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. And then
Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, something like that.
Yeah. That's sounds about right. And there was like special editions and of each game individually, or you could buy like the 4-pack, and it was going to come with like some other special stuff. And the games all just came loose in like a box, and then there was a box of tchotchkes. So it was just the retail games,
it was separate.
And then a box.
The problem is there wasn't an overarching box. It was just like, oh, you wanted the games, and then just like all this shit, right? You're going to use all this shit?
Yeah, so dumb.
Collector's edition stuff exists to make the collector's edition box bigger and heavier. We don't actually want that shit, guys. Come on, get it together.
Yep, you could put a brick in there and carve in special edition.
That would be awesome.
But just put a box around it, okay? And make sure the game is in that box.
Exactly. It's a physical version of the game. I don't want no DLC code.
Yeah, no code. That shit doesn't count. Get out of here.
I mean, again, we've talked about this. Most disappointing game besides maybe like Skyward Sword, maybe like from like I'm hyped and buying this game specifically. I think it's Eye of Judgment. Total just not interested in that game. Also, Pain. The other reason I bought a PS3. Neither reason I bought a PS3 was very good. I had very bad taste in games back then. I don't know what I was doing. From a collecting perspective, most disappointing collecting thing, what immediately comes to my mind is Limited Run Games Night Trap, which the big box PC release, because I'm the guy who got that, I guess, is a big box PC game. But the big box PC game, it's like a standardized size limited run game big box PC that they use for other things. So it's not really the same size as a traditional big box PC game. It's a little bit smaller. And then they just threw a jewel case and a loose poster in it. And there's not even a manual. It is the laziest piece of garbage release of any PC game I've ever got.
That's pretty lame. You know what game I was super disappointed in kind of recently? It wasn't that it was horrible. It just, whatever it didn't do it for me was The Last Guardian.
That's I don't know. I never played it.
It's a Team Ico game. So Shadow of the Colossus, obviously Ico. Just did nothing for me.
Yeah, I was really pumped for it. I judge books by their cover, and that cover didn't look good to me.
I mean, it also took forever to come out. Like it got pushed out so many times. It got delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. And then like my enthusiasm just came. And then when it came, it wasn't like it was delayed forever. And then you didn't deliver the best shit ever. Like, then what was the point of delaying it? Like, what did it look like before this mediocre game that I got? So, anyways. All right. Is that it for questions, or do you want to do any more?
No, that's it, Johnny. We gotta. What are we? We're like 3 hours into the show. It didn't feel like it, but it's somehow we are here.
I mean, it's a So You Want to Collect episode, so there's a lot of things to say.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so let's
talk about what we're buying and what we're playing, Johnny.
Absolutely. Hey, Tyler, are you playing anything? I played a little bit more of Elden Ring. I think I'm towards the end of it. Ooh. I don't know. I just killed a fire giant in the frost giant zone, like on a mountain. I want to call it a frost giant, but it was a fire giant in an icy area, which didn't exactly make all the sense in the world to me. But yeah, I just did that, and then I went to some like crumbling city, and now I'm like, that's where I am. I'm doing that. Okay.
I'm proud of you.
Still kind of chugging along. So yeah, that's what I played.
Did you buy anything that I can relate to here?
Yeah. Let me tell you about all the things I bought. Okay. Oh, well, shout out to Mr. CIB, who is a Patreon, and I'm not sure if he's exactly on Instagram. I got to check to see if that's his right Instagram name, but he got me a PS5, so that was cool. I paid him for it, obviously, but he found one and shipped it to me, which was really nice. So I have a PS5 that I've been too busy doing my wife's office stuff to like go out and kind of appreciate. And plus, I've still got Elden Ring that I'm chugging away at. But yeah, I've got a PS5 now, so I can eventually play PS5 games. I'm hoping to. I haven't even set it up. I haven't taken it out of the box. I got like a new controller for it. I've got the PS5. It's sitting in the same place as the day I opened it.
Great. Man, it sure is exciting getting new video games and consoles as an adult. It's just like when we were kids.
Yeah, like I told my wife, I was like, I'm just going to sit here. Well, because the minute I open it, I'm going to want to like spend a lot of time. And I know I haven't had the time, so I don't want to create a disappointing experience for myself. I want to do it when I like really have the time to appreciate it. But anyways, I got that. Hey, I got some movie ticket variants. Are you excited for?
Oh, I mean, I think they're pretty cool. Sure.
Yeah, Fantastic Four for the PS2. That really do it for you?
Johnny, if I was collecting like modern stuff and I hadn't tried to like cut myself off, I would be all about like movie tickets and weird inserts and slip covers, just like you're going after right now, because that's like the good stuff.
Yeah. So I got Spider-Man 3 Special Edition because that's a slip cover. Woo! PS2. That's like. I think since the last episode, that's like really all I kind of bought. No, that's not true. I bought Death Star Inceptor for the ZX Spectrum.
Whoa.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah, it is a Star Wars game. Pretty cool. So I didn't buy a ton of video game stuff. I've spent a bunch of money, but like the PS5, the bulk of my video game money went there. And then like all the stuff I've been buying from my wife's office has really been like eating that money. Oh, I got King Kong. I think maybe I said that last time. Lara Croft, Angel of Darkness with a movie ticket. That's what I've been looking at, like movie ticket variants for the PlayStation, like slip covers, dumb stuff like this. I found a really interesting, like a Canadian variant for Finding Nemo, and it's got like the manual in there, and then it's got like another black and white manual in there, but it's got like a photocopied cover. I'm like, what is this? And it's only in Canadian releases that I've seen. And I've only seen a couple of them, so you can go check that out. It's like a $10 item if you want it, but $10 shipping because it's coming from Canada. Tyler, tell me you bought something neater than I bought.
Wait, I did. I got that first print Super Mario Land, Johnny.
Oh, hey, green screens?
Nope, there are 3 different versions of the green screens one. I got the earliest one this time.
Okay.
So the warranty on the right side of the box doesn't have like for sale and use in USA and Canada.
Nice.
So it's less. It looks like less warranty info on the side. And man, the later versions of the green screen box sure seem a lot easier to find because I spent a while looking for this. VGDB, there was a really nice one. I forgot it was like box only or something, but one came up and we both saw it and I let him have that one. And it's been like months until one has come up now at a price I was willing to pay. But there is another one on eBay, so it feels like I wasted my whole time searching through dozens and dozens of Mario boxes.
Link me.
Okay. I don't know. The rest of the stuff no one's going to care about. I got a Warcraft shareware. I got Duke Nukem 3D shareware. And I upgraded. Johnny, let me tell you, I upgraded to just the nicest, crispy A2 FS1 manual on Apple II for my cassette version first release of the game. Not the first release. Early release of the game, though.
Did you buy a Flight Simulator yet?
This is a flight simulator. What do you mean, Johnny?
No, you're the one from your childhood.
No, I don't have a Flight Simulator 98. I'm waiting for the right copy. I think there's multiple variants. There's one that has a bestseller sticker on it. I need to make sure I get the one that doesn't have the bestseller sticker on it. But yeah, A2 FS1, for those who don't know, It is the original version of Microsoft Flight Simulator made by Sublogic before it was even called Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Woo!
Oh, it's so good. Oh, this early manual. It's so hard to find the really early manual that went with the tape version, Johnny. Oh, it's so nice. And like 6 people watched it. It was a buy it now. And like 6 people watched it before I saw it. And I'm just like, you fools, you didn't buy this and just got to buy it out from under all of them. Oh, just love that feeling of just screwing over those people who were just click and watch instead of buy, Johnny.
You did it, Tyler. You did it.
Johnny, do you want to know what I played? Because I played a couple dozen games here.
Oh, did you?
Johnny, I played every single Fairchild Channel F game.
Oh. I told you this privately, but my first set was the Fairchild Channel F.
Johnny, so I didn't play every game. There's more games than you would expect that are 2-player only. Man, so I think that there's plenty of charm to be found in very old games. There are a ton of really good Atari games. Like Kaboom on Atari is an experience that is 100% translatable to 2022. Literally within like 12 seconds, that game is fucking awesome. And you can't do it on modern systems because you need the spinner control because it goes so fucking fast. Man, maybe the Fairchild Channel F is the worst system ever made. I did not find one good game, Johnny. Holy shit.
Hold on, you didn't like number 3? Number 3 is awesome.
I liked Video Whizball is okay. It's an air hockey game where you shoot at the puck and every few seconds a new puck appears on the board. So there's always like a ton of shit going on. That game was pretty fun. And it's even single player. And it's just a Pong game. But you know what? Pong is pretty fine. And I'm saying it now. Basically, Pong is the best game on the Fairchild Channel.
Man, set killer or system seller.
Oh, 100%. So it has that weird. These were all in an emulator, to be clear. I don't have a Fairchild Channel F, but it has like that weird controller where it's like a triangle at the top, and you twist the triangle, and you can push and pull it up and down. So it has like unique controls that I was worried would make it a problem to emulate this system. And like a third of the library are games that use literally one button. There's a shooting game where your gun is in a fixed position and a target falls down the screen, and all you do is press the button to shoot your bullet at the target so it hits it when it falls down the screen. You don't aim, you don't do anything. It's just a one-button game. There's a bowling game where the ball just like goes back and forth at the bottom of the screen, and you press the one button to roll the ball. Why do I have all these crazy push, pull, twisty controls if there are games that use one button? It's a really bad system. My least favorite game is Sonar Hunt, which is single-player Battleship. No, not Battleship versus a computer. Battleship just alone. Just the computer hides the ships and you find them. And that's it. Oh, such a bad console.
It is pretty awful.
All right. Oh, another thing that drove me up the wall. There's a game called Pinball Challenge, and like I'm in. Shitty old like video pinball on Atari. Like video pinball on Atari 2600 kind of sucks, but like whatever. It's pinball. I'm there for it. It's not even a pinball game. It's just Breakout. It's a Breakout ripoff. God damn it. Fairchild Channel F. Truly garbage. Where's my angry video game nerd video on it? This is truly something that does not deserve to exist, Johnny.
Like I said, it was my first unintentional set. I bought it, and you know, I found it at a garage sale with all the games, and the guy was very pleased to tell me like how he had all of them, and I was like, that's cool. And then I sold it for much more than I bought it for.
Yeah, Channel F games are kind of expensive now. It looks like they're coming up on like $100 each or something.
That's crazy because I think I bought it for like $50 for everything, and then I sold it for like $500, and I felt pretty good about that.
All right, so I'm looking at my favorite Channel F game, Video Whizball. There are 4 cartridges, and all of them are $250 buy it nows.
Oh my God.
Whack! Actually, there was a complete in box one that just sold for $200. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, collectibles are insane. What are people trying to do here? All right.
Is Channel F collectible? Who knows?
I mean, everything is collectible now.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to talk about interesting things, and you talked about the Fairchild. I mean, I talked about Death Star Interceptor, so not super interesting, but not very common. Anyways, is that it for the episode? Are we done here?
I guess so.
We did it.
Hey.
All right, so thanks so much for listening. That's been your look into the Sega CD. So you want to collect Sega CD? We did it. Thank you so much. If you want to find Tyler, where can we find you, Tyler?
I'm on the Instagram. I post something on Instagram today. And the Video Game Sage. Default Gen. Gen. And
I am Johnny_Iucci on Instagram. And you can find me as Johnny on our Patreon, which you can join, or on our Discord, which you can get access to by joining our Patreon for as little as $2 or as much as $6, but $4 is the sweet spot. So if you want to do that, hang out with everyone on our Discord, including Tyler, where he is also posts a lot. So if you want to do that, come join us. If not, same great stuff for you each time. Thanks so much for your support. Regardless, thanks for listening to this episode. We'll talk to you next time. Bye!
That is our show. If I took notes while editing, I lost them. So no errata this episode. Thank you to 8bit, apebit.bandcamp.com. He does our intro music. And thank you to the patrons, Richard Patron #1 Bowden, Canadian Variant Alert Chris Glidden, Nintendo World Champion Daniel Jacksvik, High-End Collector Andrew Brim, Greetings Stranger, I'm not surprised to see Andrew Shelton around here, 50 Hertz is good enough for me, Andre, Video Games Were Meant to Be Slabbed, Brandon Ackley, Brian Gupta, and Pocky and Rocky with Becky, Mint Condition, Brian J. Mora, The Strictly Limited, Super Rare, Bruno, Fat Cat Collector, Chris Jackson, Chris SNK, Too Many NES Accessories, Morozek, Johnny's GBA Hookup, Coffee with Mr. Saturn, Playing with Power, Connor Strange, The Last Game You Need for the Set, Corey O'Brien, Unpunched Hang Tab, Dustin Beagle, He Has Returned to Judge This City, Eric Addison, Man of Nintendo in the World of Nintendo, Funky Brewsta, Another Vinyl Collector, Grizzly X Bear, The Actual Shinobi, Jasonic the Kid, Jeff the Game Boy Farris, Red Pyramid Thing, Jonathan Shados, Joseph Garris, he's just out there having a good time achieving his goals, proud of him. The Nintendo Tape Archivist, Joseph Leo, Lance, Lord Hardstyle Z, The Degenerate, Matt Ball, Mr. CIB, get your loose Genesis carts out of here, Funkoland Employee, Platform Agnostic, Read the Game Shark, The Famicom Box, Retro Game Enthusiast, They Could Be Ghosts and Goblins Twice, Jeffish, Vintage Video Game Connoisseur Who Knows They're Better Than Modern Games, The Fuzzy, Sean, The Gamer Collective, The New Craft Who Could Beat Mega Man Without the Pause Trick, Previously Unknown Variant, Tim Walker, From the Internet, Todd Fisher, Can't Put Limits on Collecting, VG Collectaholic, The Millennium, Will Joe, Keeper of the Zelda Variant, 0x Def Code, Getting the full PS2 set because Stefan won't, all caps! No gods or kings, only Andy Lancaster. What a 9.8 A++ Benji, the actually rare Bird Dog Gaming, dropping the Mario 64 Penguin off the map, Brandon Chalker, Brandon Rogers, his favorite episode is the wrestling episode. Christopher Piper, still shaking from what he found at Goodwill, still finding deals in 2022, Colton Murphy, a winner is him, David Green, Derek Lauer, who made me edit this show, Don Libby, the hero of time, Double Ugly presents Double Ugly, the official game of the movie, actually understands the Zelda timeline, Jeff Pierce, He Is Error, Jeff Russell, Jeremy Jarvis, here for the Pog Talk, Joe actually plays his games, Champ Pity, Video Game Art Collector because video games are art, Justin Chichio, Lateral Movement, who's got a Donkey Kong kill screen coming up, Michael, posted in the Discord right now, Chiara Monty, Nancy Holenbach, Pro Skater, Nick the Video Game Database Morgan, Homebrew Mastermind Divertov, the other guy who collects Korean releases, Peaceful Games, Dungeon Master Reed Stubanik, The Promoter, Retro RPG Podcast, Tom Obscure Variant Chaser Chase, Zaventorian, he knows all 97 Nintendo games, 32 bits or less, do the math! Andrew actually collecting N-Gage O, Ben Parker, a bad enough dude to rescue the president, Chesno, all your base are belong to him, Colby, he is Sinistar, Corhagen does what Nintendo don't, Danny McArdle, who thought this was the Retronauts Patreon, the Modern Database, Danny Gomez, the The Philatelist Dork Overlord, my childhood PlayStation idol, Game-Rave.com, Joseph Rogers got 50,000 on Double Dragon, collector of everything, including Atari, Kalen McAteer, Noah Nintendogs Chicanti. That's it. I mean, you have the dumbest nickname, but I think it's great. Sam, Sega Mark III Marks, Sean, the video game Illuminati LaCroix, and Hegemon of the Geek Empire, Valdor the Great. Thank you guys so much.